Hello, everybody. Getting started late today. It was a crazy, stupid morning. Not interesting. Doesn't matter. But anyway, I'm here. Ready to do work. We'll see who pops in today with the different time. We have one guest already in the wings. That's pretty. Before I bring now two guests in the wings. Oh boy, it's gonna be a barn burner today. Do people still say barn burner? So just for a little quick catch up, we're working on page 4 today. 24 is the crazy page that I've been sort of excited about drawing and editing drawing for weeks now, seeing it come closer and closer and closer on my schedule. And it's a big page. It's an important page. It's the first time you're sort of seeing something that's going to be very, very important to the story. It's a big one panel page, like it's a full bleed, full page, one panel. And it's something that it's hard to explain. I haven't, and I'm also trying to avoid spoilers here. It's something that I haven't totally carefully thought out about what thing looks like, because I wanted to sort of, I've used this expression times in the streams before, find it, as when I'm drawing it, figure out like what looks best, what's going to be cool. Especially the style I'm doing, which is just stark black and white. You can sketch and doodle and come up with concepts, and it might not look great black and white. And especially once you see it against the backgrounds you've drawn with the lighting you're imagining, all these other things, like with other kinds of characters seen, some things you might like as a concept wouldn't necessarily work on a page. So it's finding exactly the right look that's going to mesh well with everything you're doing in the story so far. I know that's kind of me being really vague, but I'm sorry. Let's see here. Josh. Josh, how are you doing? Josh will be according to him, listening in the chats today. So feel free to say hi to Josh, troll Josh, whatever you want to do. So anyway, again, avoiding some spoilers very carefully. The page, I've got my background in my head. Like normally I'd be starting page 2024 today. I actually started it days ago. I have background and all background elements done. Now what's waiting for is this element that I've been stalling on. So what I'll be doing today while we're streaming, I want to bring the guests in. And first, there's a lot of reference stuff I'm trying to pull. And I will give you this little teaser spoiler. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. But am I echoing? Let's see here. Let me, I can hold on just one second. Thanks for letting me know. Let's see. How is that? Am I still echoing? Maybe I wanted it for dramatic effect. Maybe how's it sounding now? Anybody? Bueller? Better? Or like better as in improved, there's less echo? Or better as in there's no echo? Clear as a bell. Okay. All right, we're back on track. So, what was I saying? Oh, so this is the small spoiler I'll give you. I got to look at I have a video I'm going to be looking at to get some kind of ideas of maybe pulling frames of it for reference images, and also to see some animation and some kind of walk cycles, basically. And this is the small spoiler. People will be able to figure out probably what I'm drawing on this page It's a video of a cassowary, which is a flightless bird, walking around on the beach and chasing the girl who's filming it on its cell phone. So I want to see how it moves. I want to see how its head goes down, and like when it's looking at things, I want to see like the the walk cycle. Basically, it's surprisingly difficult to dial in, like for large flightless birds, like how do their legs move. If you want to get a cycle of a horse gallop, there are 8 million references out there. If you want to say like what does an ostrich or an emu or a cassowary or something similar look like when it's walking, like how are its feet going, it's weirdly difficult. I don't know. But anyway, I found a pretty good video and I'm going to be looking at that. So I'll be watching that in slow motion, finding frames I like and pulling them to my reference folder just for, my use later. And then if I can get through all that, which I'm sure I will, that's not going to take super long. Then I'm going to start doing some penciling, which is unusual because I generally don't have a pencil stage. I work digitally. And with my approach, other people who work digitally have a different approach. My approach, digital kind of eliminates the need to do. I don't really have a pencil stage. I have what I would consider sort of like a thumb or a gesture drawing stage where it's very rough. I'm kind of just putting in like, okay, someone like here, this, and then moving on. And then as like the pencil and ink stage, pencil and ink, I mean, it's digital, are essentially the same stage. There's no reason to do pencils when you're working digitally, the way I see it. Like, because a lot of times if you are doing pencils traditionally, you'll do your pencil and you'll say, oh, that looks pretty good. Now I have to make sure the ink lives up to that pencil. That's kind of, with digital, that's double work. If the pencil looks good, well, then that's your ink. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Anyway, I don't really have a pencil stage. This is the bottom line. I can work faster just making pencils and inks all at once in digital, with the exception of some things. Some things for me are hard to, especially when I'm trying to find what something looks like. It's hard for me to be iterative and sketchy and do some concept stuff digitally. I don't know why. It's just my brain doesn't work that way. When it comes to sketching and finding something like concept design, it's always easier for me just to do old school by hand and find it. So for this particular page, I will be penciling this mystery entity. And when I'm happy with that, I'll probably be scanning it in or taking a picture of it and dragging it in or whatever, and then moving on to digital. So my goal today, while we're streaming, I'm going to bring in some guests finally, is to pull my reference images from that video and then maybe get a good rough pencil of what I want to ink. And at that point, I'll probably say, I'm signing off and I'll go ink this thing I've sketched. There, that's where we're at today. Let me see if there's anything in the chat. Hello, Christopher. Do you see things in color or grayscale as you were laying out an image? Depends. So it depends what you're asking here. So D versus M is a black and white comic. So if you're asking, like, about a color process, there is no color process. If you're asking me how I'm picturing it while I'm doing it, I do tend to picture everything in full color. Even though I'm doing a stark black-white comic, I could tell you what the colors of everything are in this thing. And in my head, I know the color of everything I'm doing. Let's see here. Okay, Echoes, Squatch, good morning, or good midday. There's a bell. Sounds good. Just catching up on this. That's how I do it half the time, pencil inks. Or inks. Yes. Yeah. Now I know some people do it differently. Some people do like the full process. They'll do digital pencils, and then digital inks. I don't That's not how my process works. If you look at where I jump, like basically my pencils are these terrible little thumbs I have of each page. That's enough for me to get started. And then I'm just refining as I go. Like I'm drawing and making it better and better and better. So it's all in one process. As a handsome artist, I have to say, I work in both, depending on whether it's digital versus traditional. Yeah, in some cases, I need to do it by hand. And some things are easier by hand. Like in a lot of like looking at past D versus M's, a lot of the dinosaur stuff. Anything super, super organic with a lot of like crazy, things, little visual elements, it's generally easier for me to at least start that by hand, traditionally, and then transition. Another thing I'll do by hand a lot is like gore stuff, like torn flesh, blood, stuff like this, where that's, to me, I don't know, there's something about it where it's easier for me to kind of do it old school with a pencil or a pen or something. I don't know why, but okay, let's bring in some guests. We have two today. First, just in order of my ribbon here, we've got the one and only Jason Alexander.
What's up? Almost called you Ronnie. I'm so used
Ronnie, yeah, that's right.
What's going on, Gary? How's it going, man?
And then for our second guest, we've got the also one and only Scott Serkland.
Scott, what's up, man?
How's it going?
How's it going, guys?
Not too bad.
What are you all working on today?
I am grinding away. I'm doing the chick tracks. Like I'm doing my own version of the chick track. So
yes.
I've been grinding on away a few different of those. I've gotten a few covers together as I've thought of stories because they kind of get me going when I see the cover, and it's also like a good marker of the stories I want to tell. So that's what I'm up to.
Awesome.
Jason, I don't know if you know this, but I'm psychic, and I'm going to predict how your story ends. Does somebody go to hell?
Actually, no. I never grew up believing in hell, so nobody goes to hell.
That's your twist. That's your twist.
Exactly. It never ends. It's just the same forever and ever.
That's kind of a hell right there. That's
much.
All right.
Yeah, as far as me, these new headphones are weird because I can't hear myself talking.
Oh,
you guys. So I'm working on some sketch covers. I don't know if you can see this. It's like a zombie version of LL Cool J.
Nice.
Oh, no.
Like, so I'm doing these 80s themed. This is obviously 80s era.
Yeah,
LL
it's
Cool
not
J.
showing.
Yeah, so
That's
sorry,
a really cool idea, though.
as I get further along, maybe I'll show it. But I'm just doing these sketch covers for the Kickstarter when I launch it. So that will be one of the reward tiers, is you can get sketch covers. So, but I'm really happy so far. These I just got these, and this is from Comics Wellspring, and the cover, and Squatchy said they were pretty good, so I trust him. So I got them, and because I was worried, because I've worked on sketch covers that weren't really good, like some of them were like glossy. I'm like, why?
Yeah. Why would they? So how are they?
These so far, I haven't colored on them yet, but so far, as far as pencils and everything, they look really good. So
cool.
We'll see. Yeah.
Very nice. So Kickstarter is now August.
Yeah, it's going to be it looks like it's going to be the second week of August.
Second week of August. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, and I'm sure, your channel has way more viewers than me, but when the time comes, just to get the word out, of course.
Yeah, I'll be making the rounds. I'll definitely be making the rounds. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I love the 80s nostalgia. Like, it is like a go-to music whenever I'm like writing heavy is 80s music. So when we got to read the first Young and the Dead, it was so awesome. Like, just staring at the pictures was the best. Like, finding all the things we remembered as kids. It was a good time.
I've actually got a new playlist for just listening when I'm not listening to a podcast or listening to some other streamer or whatever. And I had this wild idea to do a playlist that's called Auto Bio, where I think of all the music throughout my life that I have like a memory linked to. And I just kind of like from like childhood to college, like all of it. And so there's a fair amount of 80s nonsense, but I just want to see what comes up. Let's see here. We're going to look at the first 80s thing that comes up. Just to prove. Oh, Sweet Dreams by Eurythmics. See, there we go. Like, yeah.
Maybe I'll do an anti-Linux zombie next.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to start reviewing my video. What a lineup! I agree, Corey. It's even though we're starting late,
Corey.
we got a solid group.
So, not to get you wound up, Gary.
Oh boy. Oh no. Okay.
Full disclosure,
Yeah.
I heard the echo, but I was not going to say anything because it was like talking to Gary, but also talking to Max Headroom at the same time. So like that was my 80s thought before you brought me on today. So
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a Max Headroom zombie before. I might do another one. It's just he's kind of gaunt looking already. So I mean it's but yeah, I've done one of those before. I'll have to do another one for this Kickstarter.
I'll have to once it's uploaded, I'll have to review the
totally.
Yeah, your interview with Josh last week was really good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it was great. I was happy.
Style.
It was fun to try the quote unquote new format. It won't be a regular thing. Well, it'll be a regular thing, but not a frequent thing. I kind of feel like maybe once a month I'd like to do something like that. You know, just Jim will probably be next. I've already talked to Jim Lujan about pulling him on.
Yeah, if you want to do mine, if you want to do one with me when the Kickstarter launches, we could do
I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, anyone who's interested, not everyone is like, you know, would be real excited about that, but you're now penciled in for number 3. So but yeah, I would like to do that. And I originally, let me pause my video here, my menacing cassowary. I liked the idea of eventually bringing in like different kinds of creatives too, because I get a lot of inspiration and insight out of the commonality, you know, that I feel like I can sit and listen to a musician talking about their work, listening to a filmmaker talk about their work or whatever. And it all kind of, it's very graspable.
Any creative is inspiring, like regardless of what their finished product is, even if it's baking a cake. You know,
yeah. I mean,
it's all relative.
And I think almost anything they would say, like with a half turn, is like applicable to whatever your thing is.
Absolutely.
So like I would like to bring on Keith Foster, who's basically a writer who's working on a novel, you know, stuff like that. I thought he would have something to say. You know, just whatever. Just start mixing it up with like, because I think other creatives will get that same our indie comic folk. We'll get that same aha moment. It's like, oh, we're all these creatives are sort of the same, like at least in terms of the way they are and the way they think about it and how they approach their work and all that stuff. Am I shadow banned? No, but that's a great idea, Frank. Thank you. Making a note. Shadow banned Frank.
In parentheses.
Yeah. To do. Pick up milk. Get more cereal. Shadow ban Frank.
I love it. Oh man.
So who has seen Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Oh, I saw it in the theater.
Did you see it in the theater?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so maybe your experience is different. I wouldn't be surprised, because I'm a softie and very sentimental. I cried through like half that movie. Like I was so moved by it.
That was great. I forget the actor's name, but the one that played Short Round in Data.
Yeah. Yeah.
To see him come back after basically retiring for so long from acting, and he was so great in that. I just just seeing him just brought back so much emotions.
I know. Yeah, Short Round and
Data. Yeah.
Data. That's right, from Goonies. Yeah, I was trying
to
what
see
was
it.
His name? Because he didn't want to be called, what was he, 00 negative or something? Like, what was his weird? He had like a weird little thing he wanted to himself. But no, and I guess I don't know if I'm remembering it right, but I guess he had said in interviews like he just didn't love any of the roles he was being offered. They were all like basically Asian kid and then like Asian guy, you know, and it was all just he just wasn't into it. And then this was the first thing in 30 years or whatever where he was like, oh, that sounds cool. That's like I would do that.
Yeah, and it was so, I mean, the totally atypical heroes. I mean, just like, you know, a middle-aged woman is the like protagonist. Just, I mean, it was just so, it's like, yes, you don't have to do the same formula. You could, I mean, and I assume it did pretty good in the box office. I hope it did because I want to see more movies like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was sort of a breakout thing, and I think it's been getting like re-releases. There are still places here in town where it's still showing in the theater. Yeah. So it must be pulling in some money.
It's still in the movies up here. Like every theater that I drive past has it playing still.
I think it was like a slow, like, you know, nobody knew what it was. But then I think word of mouth has kind of kept it gaining momentum. That's my impression anyway.
I heard about it from a review, and it was kind of like basically what I just said. I mean, there needs to be more movies like this. You got to support it. And so it's like, I told my girlfriend, like, we got to see this. And it was just so crazy. But we watched this, somebody just totally walked out. There are people that will be offended by it if they go into it not knowing, you know, and you got to pretty much, I mean, well, and you can't really explain what it is, but they go certain places that are just like bonkers funny, but also like, oh, wow, I didn't expect to really see that on the big screen.
Well, and that's what I think that was the first thing I came away with was how they managed to balance really broad, goofy humor with real like deep sentimentality.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and like this is minor spoil. I'm not going to go into the details, but like, you know, but like the hot dog people, the weird hot dog people, like there's moments in it where you're like feeling bad and rooting for the hot dog people. It's this absurd thing where it's like, this is so ridiculous and so campy and so played for like a broad laugh. And yet, like, it's totally working for me. Like, I totally love it. And I totally, like, I don't know how the movie pulls off some of what it's doing. No, it was great. And I knew very little about it going in. All I knew is that everyone was saying, like, oh, it's the best movie I've seen in forever. You know, best movie I've seen in forever. That's all they were saying. And I kept looking. It was out of theaters at the time, and I was getting frustrated trying to find it. And, you know, when you're streaming, it's like $8 to rent it. But I can buy it on 4K for like $15. So it's like, I'll just buy the disc. I'll just order it. Everyone says it's great. I'll just order it. And so it showed up. So, yeah, watched, and it totally lived up, I thought. And I really don't. I'm not trying to make it like an opportunity to bag on the MCU. I'm really not. But I was just on the heels of feeling like a little bit of MCU fatigue. And then I saw that, and it kind of validated my fatigue, where it was like, see, like you can do these crazy things in really fun, adventurous, experimental ways. And it's not being done in where you imagine it should be, which is comic book movies. You know, this is not a comic book movie, but it's more comic booky and fun and crazy and interesting than like any of them I've seen in forever.
Yep.
So that was another thing where it was like, okay, now I feel better about being tired of MCU movies, or at least not tired of. Like I'm still watching them. I'm not checked out, but a little bored. You know,
I'm enjoying the Phase 4 ride. I gotta say, you know, it's been like. I feel like if once they showed all the timelines branching out in Loki, if they hadn't have shown what was going on, we would have felt like we would have felt ripped off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm bought into it. I'm enjoying it. The kids are enjoying it. So I guess that's also a different perspective. Is a lot of things are just owned because the kids watch it. You know, so
Sure.
And if it connects it with them, then it's a fun connection to make. So I think it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's been high points where I was totally like, I really like Shang-Chi.
Yep.
And
there's a lot of it.
Multiverse of Madness was a lot of fun. You know,
yeah, I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think my thing right now is, maybe it's just that I don't have as much time to like really, especially in drawing mode, like I don't have a lot of, you know, like it feels, and I saw like the count of like films, like how many movies were in phase 1, how many movies were in phase 2, you know, etc.
Yeah.
And like when you look at phase 4, how many movies, how many shows, how much longer, you know, like where are we in the whole phase? Like how close are we to the end?
Yeah.
It's like several times the content. I hate that word content, but several times the content of like any of the previous phases. And I think I'm feeling that. I'm just feeling it. And it does feel a little to me, and maybe they'll make it all work, or maybe it doesn't matter, but it doesn't feel as directed and clean as the previous ones where you feel like you're going somewhere. Right. I have to admit, like with everything I've watched in this phase, I don't feel like it's intentionally going anywhere. Obviously, multiverse is like an overarching theme.
Right.
But in terms of like, where is this going? You know, like where, like I felt like in previous ones you had a better sense of like, okay, I see. And now that maybe that doesn't matter, but like
I don't think it's gonna start yet. I don't think that we've gotten it. I think that this is just world building. I really do. Like it's a lot of origin. It's a lot of like Multiverse of Madness was a side story. That's something that Wong and Doctor Strange would have been talking about when they're talking to Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like it's something that we never would have saw.
Well, and Squatch made an interesting point. Squatch was like Multiverse of Madness. He liked it, but he felt like it should have been maybe the last few episodes of WandaVision.
Absolutely.
Like, and it's like that's kind of what I expected, but WandaVision to culminate in a little bit. You know.
Right. That was the finish of that, and that was like the beginning of all of this.
Yeah.
You know. So no, I get it. It's been a lot of stuff. Like easy to forget the good stuff that happened in the beginning.
Yes. Yeah, and I did really like WandaVision.
Yep.
I really liked Loki. I still think Loki was probably the high point of all this so far.
Yep. Yeah, it was really fun. I'm ready for season 2 of that. Like that.
Yeah.
But you're right. I understand. Like the story counted. Like this was like Kang's entrance, but that hasn't been mentioned since.
Yeah.
And I guess that's by design. Like it was always said like Ant-Man was like the next step in that, but Ant-Man is still pretty far away. Like even now.
Right. Because Kang's supposed to be back in Ant-Man.
Yep.
Right? And then so, and some of that also is like my own biases and preferences. Like I'm way more interested in Kang than like anything that happened in Eternals or anything that happened. You know what I mean? So like some of it is just my own. And this is the other thing that I admit is and this is my fault. This isn't Marvel, the MCU's fault. My fault is once they announced Fantastic Four, it's like, let's talk about Doom. I want to talk about Dr. Doom, you know? And so every time I see a new thing that does not get me closer to Dr. Doom, it's like, fuck this. It's wasting my time. Where's Dr. Doom? You know?
Tell me when Dr. Doom shows up.
Yeah. So, and you know, and I also I'm like looking like when are we gonna get a hint of like mutant stuff? Like where's the mutant stuff? And so I guess you got
a little hint of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you watch Miss Marvel?
I haven't finished it, and I hear at the end there's like a little.
Yeah. It's very, very small.
Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, and again, that's my thing of like, I'm being impatient and I want certain things,
Right.
and maybe they're doing something else. But yeah,
Right. But you're a writer, so you know what should be next. Like,
or at least I have strong opinions. Yeah, no, I trust. Look, Kevin Feige, that's how you pronounce his name, right?
Yep.
I think so.
Okay. It's he's so far it's all kind of panned out. He seems to know what he's doing. So like I'm still kind of been like, well, I'm trusting this is all going to pay off. But like
I was gonna say, I'm sure it's cashing so many checks that he's like, let's just see where this goes. Like,
or it's gotten bigger than he can manage, and he's kind of like I don't know, like maybe
triples.
Only be on top for so long, and then
right.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Maybe that means we get some good DC stuff. I'd be okay with that.
Well, for once, that would be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, the Nolan movies are still pretty strong. But everything since then has been kind of, I don't know.
I like the Batman, but I like the Batman like I like.
Oh, that's right.
I like those movies that just stand alone. They don't need to be anything else. They're perfectly fine just like that.
I forgot about the Batman. The Batman I really did like it, and I'm looking forward to the sequel. But you're right. And I think that version of him, I'm sure there's some guy in a suit in Warner Brothers who feels otherwise. But to me, that version of him doesn't work with like a Superman or you can't start bringing in like these weird other characters. Like it's not going to work. But
it's like how the Smallville universe got after a while.
yeah. It's just these don't mesh. Like you can't.
Like how many people can smash tractors? Everybody raise your hand. Who can smash a tractor here? I need you guys over here.
Right. Yeah, that was like Smallville became like ground zero for young superheroes. It was weird.
Yeah, totally.
No, the Batman was great. Did you guys hear about or read that Rolling Stone thing saying that the release the Snyder Cut movement was like 15% bots and maybe directed by Snyder himself? And,
really?
And the Twitter trolls and bullies and everything were like targeting specific WB execs that like they're saying like how would the public even know who these people are if not for Snyder kind of tipping them off, like apply pressure to this guy,
right
apply pressure to this guy, like that kind of thing. So, and I have to say, look, I watched the Snyder Cut. It's definitely an improvement. It's also like not what I want from a DC movie. It was just I've never bought into his vision. It was better, but it's still not what I want. But I kind of believe all of this article. Like I kind of believe that this weird, like he kind of like Trump, he figured out how to game the internet and turn it to his own, yeah,
exactly. Here's the thing.
Elon Musk or somebody. Like he knows where the levers are.
Right. I didn't like the first Justice League movie, but I really liked the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, it was better. It was a lot better.
It was just better. So I'm good with that. Like I'm not good with saying it was like right or wrong of him to do, but I felt like the product spoke for itself. Like especially if there was like a him versus the company type thing, I think that is fine. Yeah.
Bugs me when a character's power set changes randomly throughout the movie. Batman takes a pipe bomb to the face and is fine and gets punched and is rendered unconscious. Yeah, I mean, but that's also like superhero movies. Like it's, I mean, setting aside the fact they made Captain America the most powerful version of him he's ever been in the MCU. I mean,
he was like Superman. He just couldn't fly.
Yeah, he's like holding helicopters down. How do the physics of that work? And then like, but then also, getting, you can't overthink the power sets with these movies because they're totally inconsistent. Right. I'm still trying to figure out the Asgardians. Like Hulk can sort of smack Loki around. Thor can kind of crush Iron Man's armor, but then also, like, you know, there's all these strange, like, I don't understand what hurts them and doesn't. Where, you know, well, I'm not gonna look. I made a commitment to my therapist. I'm kidding, but I made a commitment to my therapist not to talk about Star Wars anymore. But if you like, talk about inconsistencies, force powers. Yep. Watch the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Like, makes no sense at all. Vader is pulling a giant spaceship out of the air and tearing it to pieces.
So awesome. It was so awesome to see.
So cool. Really, I admit, very cool to see. But then, like, it just begs a lot of questions. Why is he having trouble with this part? Or why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he just, like, picking up Obi-Wan Kenobi all the time? Why can't he just... Why does he even bother with a lightsaber? He could just be crushing everybody. But, whatever. Yoda struggled to get an X-Wing out of the swamp. Vader tore ship to pieces. Like, I can't. Anyway. I'm not going to talk about Star Wars.
Okay, one thing, though. I really have enjoyed The Bad Batch. I've been watching that. Yeah. It's a really fun little Star Wars story. But I think that's where DC could win. Like, forget building a universe. Marvel did it, and Marvel did it the best. And Marvel has a 20-year head start now. You won't capture that lightning in a bottle is gone. Yeah. So just get people to tell good stories. If they don't have to be all connected. Like, just like rely on what you did with the Joker, rely on what you did with the Batman. Don't make a sequel to those movies. Just do them. You're gonna do them over again eventually anyway. How many Batman movies have we had in our lifetime? Like, just give up on that. Like, Nolan did he got your sequel. That's your trilogy.
Yes.
You got it okay.
I feel like Warner Brothers made a schoolboy error that we all, like, we can relate to and identify with, where they saw what some other creative was doing and they saw them being successful and they're like, I guess I need to do that.
Right. I can make a better Coke than Pepsi. I can make a better Pepsi than Coke.
You're wrong right off the starting line. Like, it's never going to work out. And then even if it could have worked out, you did it wrong, where you're like, let's, rather than be patient like Marvel was and do what you're saying, let's get good directors, good actors, interesting script. Let's start building piece by piece. We're working toward Avengers. We're not starting with Avengers.
Right.
Let's get Iron Man right. Let's get Thor right. Let's get Captain America. Like, let's start bit by bit, brick by brick. Instead, they're like, whoa, look at that money Avengers did. Let's do Justice League. Like, right off the, like, you know, let's like, it's, no. Like, no, you can't do it that way. So you either need to try to really emulate what Marvel did and start brick by brick. Think about your big connected universe, but slowly. Like, let's get a great Batman movie. Let's get a great Superman movie. Let's get a great Flash movie. Get a great Wonder Woman movie. And then we'll just start seeding and work toward it.
Right.
Or I think what they're kind of finding is the only thing that works for them is like, let's just do standalone and not work about what difference.
I think that's the money. They should have stayed with animated. They did so good with the animated. Yeah.
Like, why do we need a movie with all these characters in the same frame? Like, what does it matter?
Every comic book is not connected. Every single comic book that you enjoy is like, it's cool that they live like in the same world, but that is not really a DC. I don't trust Netflix to hang a roll of toilet paper.
You get something like especially get something like Sandman right. Now I'm hopeful. And the trailer looks good, but you know what? The trailer to Batman v Superman looked great too. So I don't know. We'll see. DC on HBO is fun.
The Harley Quinn show was pretty fun. I
hear it's funny. I haven't watched that.
It was exactly what 12-year-old us enjoyed about Batman the Animated Series, but for us 30, 35 years away. Like, it's the same jokes, but we're all more mature. You know what I mean? Like, we all drop a few more F-bombs than we did when we were 12. I do anyway.
I don't know. Mine's about the same for me. I'm ashamed to say. Let's see here. Cartoons can tell. Yeah, I mean, look, for anyone who kind of enjoyed and was frustrated with Batman v Superman, the animated Dark Knight Returns with Peter Weller voicing Batman was actually really good. I thought. Maybe there's people out there who don't like it, but I love Dark Knight Returns, the graphic novel, and I thought that iteration of it was really good and satisfying. I thought they did a good job. So
Frank Miller is Frank Miller, but Frank Miller, I love those Batman books. I love Batman books. Those were awesome stories.
I think animation has a little bit of an advantage over live action because things translate a lot better from comic to animation, so you can get it a little closer. Because anytime you're taking certain things, like that's the whole problem with the costumes, where sure, you want accurate costumes, but they don't always translate. And then you got to find a good middle ground, because sometimes people will just say, well, we're not doing anything close to this because it looks ridiculous, and they're wrong because then they upset the fans. But then because what they do is every once in a while they'll have an homage or something where they actually have them in the exact, like, oh, we're going to costume party. Like I think they did that with Vision and Scarlet Witch, where they actually had their costumes.
Yeah,
they're okay. We get to see what it actually looks like. Maybe what they did before makes more sense.
And in Loki, they had like old Loki. I forgot the actor's name, but it looked like
or in Captain America too. In Captain America, when he was doing the USO tour and everything like that. So
it was enough. It was satisfying. It was the taste we wanted.
No, and a lot of that doesn't work. And there's a lot of things, like you can picture a panel, like if you watch, is it Hawkman from DC? Yep. Like in a comic book, you watch him walking down the street past normies. Like you kind of accept it. But if you saw that same thing in a movie, it would look so weird. Yeah. And it's just inviting a joke, where there's some stuff that doesn't work. I was never a huge DC person, and someone who really feels some ownership of the DC stuff would disagree with me on this. But to me, the DC characters, this is in response to Josh's thing. The DC characters always seemed like, to me, like the modern equivalent of Greek and Roman gods walking on Earth among us. Like they were, and that's, I think it's sort of informed by Kingdom Come, which was very much like told in that way of sort of like they're these like other, it's not Spider-Man. It's not Peter Parker swinging down for a sandwich at the deli. Like these are these weird god people that are among us,
That aren't all even from Earth.
Right. And they're like it's a kind of almost a weird spiritual strange experience to cross paths with them because they're so different.
Right.
And I feel like that's something the movies have never attempted, and especially given the kookiness of DC costumes, probably the only way you can make that work, like I would speculate, like, I think maybe that should be the angle. Maybe you need to do Kingdom Come, like you need to do something where it's not about Superman. You're seeing Superman. It's not about like these Wonder Woman. You see the Amazon princess like over there. And it's like somehow have some distance from them to kind of help accentuate their super heroic, like their weird godlike strange personas. Marvel, you don't need that. Marvel, because he's right. They're always more, maybe it's because people like Stan Lee, but it was always more about how is this a relatable person? No one gave an F about Hawkman being relatable, or even Superman is kind of hard. Like they try with Clark Kent, and they've sometimes succeeded, but usually
Batman dressed as Batman in a diner.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Wonder Woman. Like no one's relating to Wonder Woman. At least now. I don't think. Maybe in the past, but I don't know. Let's see here. Yes, exactly. There we go.
But that's what I've also said about like their comic book universe. Like you put each of their big 7 in graphic novels all year. Like take them out of the regular rotation. You don't need 84 of their books anymore. But make their stories count again. Because you got a quadrillion other characters underneath now that have never gotten, sometimes they've never gotten the light that they deserve. And, that was what was good about the Justice League movie was it was 4 hours long, Yeah, but it was 4 hours long because that was how long it needed to make that story good. Like to see all the parts of the story. That's why it was good. So sometimes it takes that long.
Yeah, there was a lot of it. Again, it's not what I want from those movies, and like his vision, especially like his vision of Superman, I've never loved.
No.
I thought I did kind of enjoy Man of Steel. I thought there was a better version of that in the edit that never was found. But like that original, what is the actor's name?
Henry Cavill.
That first Superman movie, I thought wasn't bad. Like I thought it had a lot of potential.
I hated it.
Did you hate it? Yeah,
even though I'm just a huge fan of like, Christopher Reeve Superman. So I don't. Yeah, it's really hard for me. I just think Superman's a totally different character than like a Batman. He needs to be more optimistic.
I'll be right back.
And that's the big thing. Okay, that's the big thing that never worked for me with the Snyder one.
Yeah, like, do All-Star Superman. If you're gonna make a Superman movie, do All-Star Superman.
Yes, why not?
Yeah,
like it's right there. I sound like every other comic book geek, but it's like you've got the story right there. Like, why are you spinning your wheels trying to come up with a new take? Like, this is the one. This is the one to film. But it's I know. But even though I never liked that Superman, even though I've never cared about Cyborg, which is just a personal thing. Like any version of Cyborg I don't really care about. I don't
like Cyborg in Teen Titans. He should be in Teen Titans,
Well, see, and that's and I think that's I feel like the Cyborg, that's what raised Cyborg's stock was Teen Titans. Like I have to admit as a kid, not that I was a huge follower of DC, like I don't think I was even aware of Cyborg. It was only with Teen Titans where people were like now knew who Cyborg was, but I was not a diehard comic person. Let's see here. Oh wait, I wanted to share this. Although we can't reveal our multiverse, this is from Josh. Although we can't reveal our multiverse, where on the last issue of D vs. M, we reveal that The Young and the Dead, 2 stories in D vs. M have all been building to a multiverse team comic. So there we go. This should be added to the list of the steampunk jet ski comic, and was it Captain Anarchy or something, or what was the other one? Or like now we can also do like the 2 stories Young and the Dead D vs. M crossover comic. That's another. Let's see here. Corey, Batman is so popular, we care a bit about Bruce Wayne. No one cares about Diana Prince or remember. Yeah, I think that's part of it. It is interesting. I'm sure a lot of sociologists working on their PhDs are trying to write theses on why Batman works for us in this, but a lot of the others don't. And I mean, it does. Well, it is a little dark.
No superpowers for one. I mean,
do you think that's it? Do you think that he's?
Well, I think that's part of it. I mean, he's a little, I guess, a little more relatable. I mean, even though he's not everyone's a billionaire, but I mean, people have had loss, and I don't know. It's a good question. I think for the most part, Batman's just a little more down to earth than like a Superman,
Yeah. I do think there probably is, and something you just said that I think there might be something of I think maybe limiting the scope of the powers. Like once you get to Wonder Woman or Superman level.
Yeah, I've heard that argument a lot of times, but I think that what makes Superman work, and I think he does work, is the fact that he has those powers. And when you look at like The Boys, that could happen. What makes Superman the way he is? He could easily have gone the way of like a Homelander,
right?
But tap into why yes, you have all these superpowers, but they can also be a detriment because you know, people he can hold the people against, you know, his villains can hold the people he loves against him, and and you know, what does he do in those situations and not snap and snap somebody's neck, you know, like in Man of Steel or whatever. So
yeah, I've never bought the argument. Yeah, I've never bought the argument when they say like why Superman doesn't work is because he's too powerful. Like that's not why Superman hasn't been working. I mean, in my opinion, you know, and like you, I feel like the Christopher Reeve Superman works great. All-Star Superman works great. Like, I think the problem is this is my hot take. I think with the model of superhero movies where you need this kind of grave threat and you need the hero on the ropes in the second act to kind of make this big comeback in the third, that doesn't apply well to Superman. Like, I think, and you need to come up with a different story for Superman that is more based on his compassion for humanity and his, I think, with something they've never really taken advantage of, like the struggle with the dual identity and what Clark Kent represents and who really is, you know, Jor-El, is he Clark Kent or is he Superman? You know, like which is more representative of him? Like there's a lot of stuff there. And again, like the fact that no matter how powerful he is, he can't be everywhere. He can't do everything.
Yeah.
He can't, you know, and that's where you can sort of beat Superman, is the fact like he's not all powerful. And we get caught up in this idea of like, oh, he's too strong. He's not too strong, especially since he has a soft spot, which is compassion and empathy. You know, like there are ways to apply pressure to Superman, and that's not how they write comic book movie scripts now. It's all about, we need a big punch fight, and we need the hero to go and lick his wounds at the end of the second act, and then we need him to come back reborn and, you know, save the day. That's weird with Superman. It doesn't quite work. It's I'm unfamiliar.
Oh, okay.
James Robinson and Tony Harris's run of Starman. If DC wanted to do a Marvel-esque superhero movie, they should look at James Robinson and Tony Harris's run of Starman. I'm unfamiliar. Yes, yeah, Superman works when we care about Clark. Clark is the key. And that's why, and that part of one of the many problems with Snyder's take is you can tell he just did not care about Clark Kent, like at all. No. Clark Kent was not interesting to him.
No.
And I think Clark Kent is, like, on the other end of the spectrum, maybe the only thing that makes Superman interesting. You know, like, you need Clark Kent to make Superman work. And even Kill Bill knew that. Even Quentin Tarantino knows that in his little talk about, which is not exactly right, but when he's talking about Superman, when Bill is talking about Superman and Kill Bill 2, for anyone who hasn't seen it, which is crazy to me. You gotta see Kill Bill.
I have seen Kill Bill movies.
Yeah, everybody's seen Kill Bill. Like, we should be showing it on like the movie day in 5th grade in grade school. Yep. Like, today we're just gonna watch Kill Bill. But he's talking about how, like, in a way, Clark Kent is Superman's indictment of humanity. Where Superman is sitting there with all his power, thinking, like, how do I pass for a human? I'll be a schlub. I'll be a cowardly, weak mini, you know, like, who wears glasses and, like, kind of slouches and is, like, pushing the, like, whoa, Lois, you know, like, that's his idea of what a person is. This is how I pass for a person. It's, like, in a way, like, it's very critical. It's really sharp. Now, I don't, you know, I think that's a very it's very Tarantino. Right. It's a funny, interesting take. It's kind of like his take on Top Gun, where it's about, like, a gay man struggling with his homosexuality. Like, it's a fun take. Do I think he's right? No, he's totally incorrect. But that's what part of, like, that. He's identifying what's interesting about Superman. It's something about that. It's something about the dual identity. It's something about how he chooses to pass. It's something about the human friends he has as Clark Kent, you know, and that's there's something there. And Luthor. They've never really done anything really cool with Lex Luthor.
No.
And like he's another part of that. Like if you're gonna work Lois in, you've got to work in Lex as like the kind of opposites. You know,
you can't tell a Batman story without telling a good Joker story.
You kind of that's why we always recycle the Joker. Like he's a good polar opposite.
Yep.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to bail. I gotta go pick up my dog from the groomer, but here's what I have so far, and then I'm gonna add some color to it.
Oh, that's cool.
That is awesome.
That's very cool.
So yeah, this is just keep in mind the Kickstarter will be launching, and there will be tiers with these original sketch covers on it. So
very cool.
So
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the Kickstarter. So.
All right, guys. Well, I'll catch the rest of this when I get back.
Thanks for dropping by.
Later, everyone.
Let's see here. If they wrote Superman like Spider-Man, it could work much better. Yeah, for example, this is what I'm saying. Like Superman can't be everywhere. He can't do everything.
He loses. And when he loses, it's big losses.
And it's a heart loss. It's an emotional loss, which works better in movies anyway, because nobody, invulnerable or not, nobody's expecting Peter Parker to die at the end of Spider-Man, or like, and same with Superman. Like it's a silly argument to say the problem with Superman is like he can't be killed. Batman's not going to die either, buddy. Like Spider-Man's not going to die. Like that's not it. It's not it. It's that there are no stakes. Like you're not understanding the stakes for Superman. Like you can threaten Peter Parker with bodily harm. Sure.
Right.
You know, like we don't know what would happen if Spider-Man got shot. Like probably nothing good. Probably he'd be better off than if I got shot, but like nothing good. You come up with different stakes for Superman. It doesn't mean like, oh, well, because we can't shoot him, it doesn't work. We need a kryptonite bullet. That is horseshit, hacky nonsense. Like, no, you're on the wrong path. You're not getting it. Think of the world as Superman's puppies and kittens. That's humanity. That's the angle. Like someone comes in and is going to start like hurting the kittens and puppies, and like he's got to figure like that's the tension. That's the freak out.
In one sentence, you compared Superman to Paw Patrol, and you also said you have to kill Lois Lane to tell a good Superman story.
There you go. You got
you covered. But no, I totally understand you. I totally understand what you're saying. Like, how many things can you punch hard?
Yeah, right. It's stupid. Yeah, and then Clark as a costume, I think, is I mean, it can at least be a theme for a good Superman movie. Is the struggle of who's who. I mean, they do this with Batman all the time, and they did it with the latest Batman movie. The latest Batman movie made it very clear that Batman is the real person, and Bruce Wayne is the costume. Bruce Wayne is the like, I'm going to put on my suit and go out there and pretend to be like a weird billionaire.
He started looking thickly as Bruce Wayne as the movie went on, but he always looked strong and heroic.
Yes,
Batman. He
hates being Bruce Wayne.
Yep.
Like he like it's all, and they've played with that in past versions, but this was the one where they're really like, he hasn't even really come up with Bruce Wayne yet. In the Batman.
No.
Like, he doesn't even know what that's supposed to be.
He's not a playboy.
He's still working out Batman, but he's got a better idea of what Batman is. You know, he's actually this kind of undifferentiated person. And what I think could be interesting with future, like the Batman sequels, is him like the fork in the road starts spreading, where Batman gets so different from, like having to manage these two lives. But anyway, I think one take I had on, or I had read once, wasn't my take, on Clark Kent. This is on Josh's comment, Clark is the costume. I saw someone speculate once that Clark Kent, that Jor-El is the way he is when he's Clark Kent naturally. That is actually his natural inclination. Because if you are Superman, if you do have these powers, if sneezing wrong or having a tantrum or doing anything could level a building or kill somebody or whatever, you're going to walk through life, like very small, very like meek, very like careful all the time. You're going through like a paper world, like a world made out of graham crackers. You know, like it's just this thing where you really feel like, and I think that is like an interesting angle. Like that was most of Superman's life growing up, was having to be scared of his own power and really reining it in. And when he's Superman, that's his opportunity to just like unclench, you know, like, and finally like, and be confident and enjoy, like, you know, like allow himself to be himself. That's, I think there's something there too. Like it would never happen, but if I had the Kevin Smith dream of Warner Brothers saying like, hey, we'd be interested in your pass at a Superman script. You can bet that I would be interested in that. I'd be very interested in like, what's going on there with him, and what is that like for him? You know, to be walking through a world where if he loses control for just 1 second, you could knock a building over. You know, and like, what does that do to you?
He could choose to do it at any point. Like he could heat vision, Metropolis in a day.
His temper could, you know, spike. He could. What happens if he trips? Like what happens, you know, like what if he you know, coughs too hard? Like what happens? Like it's like, what's that like, and how neurotic and crazy is that going to make him? You know, to like constantly be like, that's Clark Kent. Clark Kent is that guy who's constantly afraid of everything, you know, of what he could do. And I think there's something relatable in that. It's like people who are just, you know, afraid to be themselves, afraid to do the thing that, you know, afraid to actualize, afraid to realize whatever they are, you know, like there's people can. So that's why anytime it's like, oh, Superman's not relatable. Stop it. Yeah. You're not thinking about it. Superman can be as relatable as any other superhero. Yeah.
Nobody's written him relatable in a while.
Yeah. It's just your angle.
It's a character on paper.
Yeah. You can. And also, by the way, you can make his powers whatever you want. Like Superman's powers have been all over the board. Like, yes, he's always going to have to fly. And yes, there's basic Superman things. He has to be bulletproof. He has to be basic things. But like when you compare Christopher Reeve's Superman with Henry Cavill Superman, like there's a vast power difference there. Like Cavill is basically just unkillable, unhurtable, and anything, you know? Or like Christopher Reeve, like, you know, things are like they're throwing trains at him and something, and like he's getting knocked down. Like I remember there's his metaphorical fight in the junkyard where his evil self hits him with a bumper from a car, you know, and he's like, ugh, you know, like this isn't like, you know, he gets pounded into the ground once, and like I mean he's, you know, like he's not God tier. Like I mean he's very strong, but it's more like Thor level in the Marvel. You know, like he's hurtable.
Think about Henry Cavill as Clark Kent in that scene in Superman 2 where that guy beat him up in the diner.
Yeah.
Like there's no believability in that.
Right. Though I remember as a kid that blew my mind. Where like
totally.
He had his powers, because what
his nose starts bleeding,
for Lois.
Powers to get
and he really got beat up, and you're like, oh my god, like this was a terrible mistake. This was a horrible mistake. But,
oh my gosh, yeah. But no, that was Superman 3 is a bad movie, but it's bad enough that I can still watch it every once.
I can still watch, maybe because I saw it as a kid. I can still watch Superman.
Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Terrible.
That was my favorite Superman for quite a while. It's really bad, but it was my favorite Superman. Oh yeah, I love that Superman movie.
I do remember as a kid, I couldn't really get into the original Superman because for dumb kid reasons, like there was no real villain, and
it was Superman 2 all day.
Yeah, Superman 2. That was the one where I was like, this is great.
Yep.
Which I have to say, I don't think it holds up great. But Christopher Reeve is sort of perfect. You know, like he's kind of what you want from that.
He's Chris Evans Captain America. It's just that's his version of Superman.
Because every time Yeah.
Totally.
Which again, this is something that the logic of the movies is always ignoring, and which I get impatient when people say like Superman, like he's not relatable, you can't hurt him. he's got to be overwhelmed with the world's suffering and the fact that he can't be everywhere. He can't do everything. So if you're Superman, and the movies tap dance around this, but they never lean in. If you're Superman, you must be doing the calculation of like, I can't be everywhere. I can't do everything. I can't save everybody. What I can do is inspire everyone to realize that they can be heroic too, and they can be good too. Like yes, it leans into the weird religious allegory of Superman, but they've been doing that for years.
It's what it is. It's
like it is what it is.
Like it's right.
It's totally what it is.
Yeah.
And another idea about Superman that I've always found very compelling, that I feel like the movies don't really deal with, is Superman in a way is demonstrating to people. It's not that he's bulletproof. It's not that he can fly. It's none of that. Doesn't matter. What matters is he's sort of a demonstration to people of how you can be if you're living without fear. Like Superman is inherently, for himself at least, fearless. Like he knows that nothing really is going to happen to him in 99.9% of cases, you know, and that in a way allows him to be good, which I think is like the inherent conflict between him and Batman. Batman is like, you have unearned goodness. Like it's, you know, there's nothing, like you're not choosing. You have the luxury.
You're just strong. You don't die.
Yeah, like because you've never had to feel fear. You've never had to taste blood in your mouth. You've never had to lose any, you know, like you're
right.
It's easy to parachute in. It's very, again, a religious allegory thing. People like, you know, God became Jesus or whatever. And like, you know, and like, and he showed like, this is how you can be. It's like, well, that's easy when you're God, you know, like, but like, I don't have the benefit of that, you know? So it's the same thing with Superman. Like that would be Batman's kind of objection. But I think Superman's mentality would be, this is like, I think his argument would be, if you're living without fear, if you're not preoccupied with fear and power and possessing and all this like human bullshit, all this like just atavistic like nonsense that you're like preoccupied with, you can be like me, you know, like we can all be like on this plane. And I
hate Superman every single word you say right now.
See, okay, but I think that's like would probably necessarily be Superman's mentality. It's like you don't need. I can't be everywhere, but I don't need to be everywhere. You can help each other. You can, you know, like this is like, why are you counting on me? You know, like I'm showing you the way. You know, I'm showing you like we can all be like me, and like we can all live a pretty good life if we were. And then you have Batman and Gotham saying like, "Fuck you!" Like this is like get in the alley with me with the muggers and the rapists. Like you have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. I literally got stabbed from somebody I was trying to help yesterday.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Right. But that now you have relatable perspectives. Now you have something that's like, okay, I get both these people. And they both make sense. And Superman's relatable even if I disagree with them. Or Batman's relatable even if I disagree with them. Or whatever, you know.
I love it.
Now you got something. You got something there to work with.
Yeah, who says what your story has to be? Who says what your Superman story has to look like to capture lightning in a bottle?
Right.
You know, it's kind of like you were talking about everything everywhere all at once. Like sometimes movies like that are like that and they don't catch on. And then sometimes they just hit right at the right spot. Yeah. And that's what it is. So no,
it's actually
he's a Boy Scout.
It's interesting to me. Hard to believe these Boy Scouts are doing with Lois love over heroes, and that doesn't work. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, he's on a date with Lois and he's hearing, you know, someone is beating their kid.
Like everything that he does, he hears so much.
Right. But also that's a good example of like, if you're going to write a Superman story, you get to redefine his power set. How far can Superman really hear? And is that important to the story? Does he need to be able to hear what's going on in Beijing? Like, you know, it's cool. And I hate to say this, and look, there's way more talented people than me working at DC. But people who write that shit, I don't know what they're thinking. Like, what does that serve? Like to give him that kind of level ability. You know, to just say
if it doesn't go anywhere on the story.
And Marvel does the same thing when they're like, you know, if Hulk's mad enough, he could lift a mountain. Like, stop it. Like, stop. What are you doing? Like, you're just ruining this. Like, you sound like a 6-year-old. You sound like a 6-year-old on the playground. Could the Hulk lift Mount Everest? What if he was really mad?
He gets madder, and the stronger he gets, he gets madder and madder. He's stronger and stronger. Oh my god!
It's so dumb. Stop.
I love those stories. I do, but I
do
get what you're saying.
It's sort of like, I can't believe this got through. I can't believe they're like, yeah, okay, this is the new power set for the Hulk. This is yeah, Superman. He can hear what's going on Mars. Sure, okay.
I feel like Punisher's one of those. He's one of those Batman shards in Marvel. Yeah. You know, he's Batman with guns.
He's honestly a more realistic take on Batman. Like
you know, they put him in that one metal where that's how Batman ended up. Batman metal, like one of his Batman is like a gun guy, and it's bound to happen.
Yeah. Well, and it also makes him. He's far less relatable and sympathetic than Batman, which I think is more, in a way, more realistic. It's funny, like, I hate the Punisher. Like, I just hate that. Like, the show, I mean, look, the show's fun, and I've read Punisher comics. But just as a concept, I'm very uncomfortable with the Punisher. And it's a little bit like, some of it is... There are examples of this. I don't want to give them because I don't want to polarize the audience. Actually, I will. Whatever. It's all in good-natured, good fun. But, like, for example, confession time. I've never watched an episode of Rick and Morty. I'm sorry. I hear it's great. People love it. And you know why? It's a very dumb reason. The fans of Rick and Morty just turn me off. There's just something about that. Not all of them, because I've had people I really like come to me and say, like, Rick and Morty is great. And I'm not saying them. But there's, like, this weird contingent on the internet where it's, like, just that. And that's kind of what it is with the Punisher. When I see someone with a Punisher logo bumper sticker, it makes me not want to read the Punisher. You know what I mean? When I see some fucking cop idolizing the Punisher, it's sort of like, this is why I'm not interested in the Punisher. Right. You know, like, because if you like it, I don't want to.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But in a way, I think that would be the more real reaction to a Batman. Like, if you knew some billionaire was putting on hockey pads and going out and beating the shit out of people who live in public housing, you know, who's like, are like, because they stole something, like, whatever, you would think, like, he's a piece of shit. Like, I mean, like, what is this guy doing?
Right. Hanging out with the commissioner of the police.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's one thing. And by the way, I'm not anti-cop. I'm not one of these ACAB people. But one thing I did like about the new Batman is that a lot of what was in his, like, his field of view, like what he was looking for, is like, here are the problems, was a lot of, like, shitty cops. And I was like, finally, we're like, okay, now we're getting somewhere with Batman. Because if Batman existed today, that's who he'd be looking at. He wouldn't be looking
Hopefully.
He'd be looking at the people where, like, not a lot of justice is happening. And
right, because
would that be today? We all know. Yeah. So
the eventual Bruce Wayne side has money to change it. So if he can see it,
yes,
then it counts for something else.
He would see it. So he'd be grabbing up bad cops and insurrectionists. Let's be real. Like, that's what he'd be going for. He wouldn't be worrying about, like, some guy with a knife in an alley. That's that's small time. Yeah. And the cops will take care of that. He's looking for the big fish. He wants the big collars.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway. Let's see here. It's more like Hulk take on Superman. Yeah. Let's see here. Jesus walking through the world. Yeah. I mean, and they've all been hitting that imagery with Superman. Like, overtly.
Yep.
Like, it was, I think in Man of Steel, Zack Snyder had, remember, he's floating out of the ship in this, like, weird crucifixion pose. Yep. So on the nose. But, like, Now, I think that's too much. Like, you don't need to tip your hand that hard. There's no value in that. But using that as your blueprint, I think is totally legitimate. You know, I think it totally makes sense.
That's what got my Kingdom Come trade thrown away while I was at work one day. My parents saw how many scriptures they were in it, and they were like, "Nope, they're using these scriptures to describe these superheroes." And I just came home from work one day and it was gone. But you know, it hits the button. Superman he's totally that guy in his world.
Totally. Well, and again, just like what I was saying with the DC thing, DC superheroes seem more like weird. It seems like a Roman pantheon kind of thing, you know? 100%. And so just start, you know, go ahead and crib from all sorts of religious avatars walking on Earth faiths, you know, Christianity and like a little Zeus, a little this, a little that, whatever, and throw that into Superman. And I think you're starting to get the right kind of approach. Like needs to be, he's not Tony Stark. He's not even Thor. And even like Thor is an interesting case because I feel like to make him relatable, they got away from all the God stuff. To me, Thor in the books is totally, he is like, it's this weird Viking god. I don't know, and I don't mind the movies. They're fun, but they're making him like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if he was like handsome and a surfer type, you know, with a hammer. Like they're making him super ground level. And I guess that's all right. I guess, I don't know. I don't care too much about Thor, but Iron Man is sort of like, it's a good, you know, it's someone who's deciding like, I have all these resources and I'm going to start applying them in a very targeted, violent way. You know, like that's how I'm going to fix things.
Right. But so is Daredevil. Daredevil is the same thing.
Yeah. Fit the fan, don't understand. Yes.
That's my thing with Fight Club.
Yes. That's another good example.
We should not be rooting for Project Mayhem. Like, this is not the best thing.
Or Watchmen, people who are rooting for Rorschach. Like, those are the people who it's like, no, you're missing the whole. But now I love Watchmen, and I love Fight Club. But if I had never seen Fight Club, and I saw the people talking about how much they love Fight Club today, I'd probably be like, I'm not watching that. It's a movie for douchebags. I'm not interested in that. It's a great movie, but the fans tainted it for me, and that's what it is with Punisher for me. Where it's like I don't want to be a part of your club, whatever your weird thing is you're doing.
Right. Yeah. Have you seen the Watchmen television show that came out in early 2020?
So good. I thought
those were the people. I loved it. Those were the people who ended up like missing the point on Rorschach's message. He was not even that, but he became the Punisher for them. You know what I mean? Like that's not
that series did not deserve to be that good. It was
so good. Oh my god!
It was just like, to me, it's exactly like Blade Runner 2049. When they announced 2049, it was the same reaction when they said we're going to do a Watchmen series on HBO. It's like terrible. Yeah. This is going to be a disaster. Like, why would you do that? Good. And both were so good. Like, this legitimately, I can't even picture a better follow-up. You know, it's a Watchmen. Like, it's just, I still can't get over it. I want to get it on disc because I want to revisit it like more often. But
it was everything that you would have hoped the sequel to the comic book would have been, but it did enough to the movie to like make you feel included if that was how you were introduced to
it. They didn't do anything in there that would confuse you if you would never, like if you'd only taken in one but not the other. Except for the squid thing. Like if
that
you
was
had
such a
only
cool
seen
touch,
the movie.
I love that touch.
I loved it.
So
I thought that was great. And that was like, it was funny that was the thing they picked, which is basically the only major deviation between the movie and the book is like, well, let's say this good thing actually did happen, but I loved it. It was I can't say enough good things about
it. It was so
series.
Good. Yeah,
you haven't seen it.
100%.
Yeah, the story of Superman is how much he's holding back for sure. Yeah, Yes, it's
Getting cut off in traffic.
It's the to quote some Joseph Campbell, it's the impersonal demands of society on Superman. It's him having to not fully be himself.
Yeah.
To fit in, and like that's the struggle. And I think you could make a story about the things we give up of ourselves to fit in that are bad sacrifices that you shouldn't be doing.
Right.
Things you do out of love and compassion for your, community, like that, and that how that, like what the difference is, like the good and bad impositions that living in a community places upon you. I think there's something in there that you could get a good Superman story.
Yeah.
When that's to me, and again, it's largely informed by Kingdom Come, which I thought was sort of the ultimate example of it. That's always how the DC books sort of read to me. Yeah. Like these weren't relatable figures. You're not going to go and have like, oh, Superman came into my donut shop today and sat right over there while I had coffee. Like that happens in Marvel.
Right.
In Marvel, the Hulk is sitting at a booth having donuts, a pile of donuts and coffees. But like that doesn't happen in DC. And there's a reason. Right. Like you see them flying overhead. Like it's like seeing a comet or something.
Right. Or some 6'4" guy with glasses comes in and like leaves a crumpled up frying pan, so you know how strong he was.
Yes, something.
But you never come across Superman casually. Right.
It's like spotting a celebrity. It's like a weird, like whoa.
That's what I loved about Identity Crisis, because it was like the first DC story that was good with humans. Like it was the first DC story that was good with a human story. Yeah. I feel like the 300 is also like falling on that list slowly. Like the Frank Miller, the 300 movie that came out recently. I feel like it's kind of on that. It's getting to be on this Fight Club list.
Yes. Yeah, no, that is a good example of one that, and by the way, I love the 300 movie. It's probably, of all the Snyder movies, probably the one I like the most.
It was just stylized. Like it was just
so good. And
it was just fun to watch.
Ridiculous. And it was it was over the top in just the right way.
Right.
But yeah, that's another good example of like these people like watching it and coming away with the thing of like the Spartans are awesome. Is like, are they? Like, aren't the ones that are throwing babies off cliffs?
Right.
Because they're not going to be like warrior enough. And like the one, like, I mean, like, and it's interesting because you're seeing like they're absolutely righteous and correct. And in the math of that movie, they are the good guys.
Right. For the rules of the road, they are.
Yeah, of those two, like of those two opposing armies, yes, you want the Spartans to win. But it's a totally weird, depraved society.
I would not have gone to the Spartans for help.
No.
Today,
I wouldn't. I'd be afraid to accidentally wander over the border. Like, I mean, like, what are they going to do? Like, they're maniacs. And don't they have like a weird priest class that's like basically molesting and keeping girls
creepy old man
that are high on vapors all day, giving weird prophecies? Like in any other movie, these are the bad guys, but because the weird, I'm blanking on the villain's name in that movie.
Xerxes.
There we go. Thank you. Yes, compared to Xerxes, sure. Right. I'll be Team Leonidas, but yeah, like there's lots of examples like that. Yeah, and Josh was saying. Yep. Clockwork Orange is another good one. Yep. I remember that in college. I saw Clockwork Orange. It's not one of my favorite of Kubrick's. It's good. It's not one of my favorites. I don't think I've ever rewatched it. But yeah, then you come across people, especially like edgelords, who are like, Clockwork Orange is amazing, and they want to quote that movie. They want to quote like, what is the thing about super violence or whatever. Ultra violence, yeah. And it's like immediately you've labeled yourself a D-bag, and I can't.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you.
Yeah, I just whatever, man. But
Yeah, I 1000% agree with you on that. But no, it's you always learn like what do I think about you from the movies that like you resonate with, and why do you? Because also, don't get me wrong, I love Fight Club. Like I really enjoyed Fight Club, but I understand what I'm watching too. Like I understand the actual message of what I'm watching. You know, I don't write what I write for it to happen. I write what I write because I know that people get it.
Right, exactly. Well, and that was something I thought about a lot when I was writing the dialogue between the two men in black in 75.
Yeah.
Because I was not enough to make me uptight, not enough not to write it, but I was worried, like, are people, especially the old man in black, he's presenting a lot of views.
Yeah.
That I do not agree with. And I thought, well, are people going to read this? And like, I was envisioning the hot take blog review where it's like, Hodges argues that, you know, and it's, and there was that moment where it's like, I can't, like, I'm a little anxious about that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, you know what? I have no authority over the dipshits in the world. And I have no authority over hot takes. And I have no authority over people who can't read a book or watch a movie or read a comic and understand that this is a piece of work with like an intent behind it and not necessarily my diary, you know? And
exactly.
Yeah. So it's like, then once I had that, it's like, whatever. Like people are just gonna have to, I can't worry about that. No. I can't let it affect my story. But.
No, but it's kind of like the, I don't create utopias. Like every person in my world is weird and none of them think like I do, or not all of them think like I do. And so no, like in that line of work, it's been proven that you would have people who think like that.
Yeah.
It just comes with the like, so it's reality. It comes with the territory.
It is. And I think what made me, at least in the 75 case, the reason I thought about it is I tried to portray that position very honestly.
Yeah.
And not sympathetically is the wrong word, but like I was trying to present it in a way where the reader and, you know, young man in black in the car are kind of like, maybe you're right. You know, I didn't want to make it a caricature of some weird kind of totalitarian argument of like, you know, everybody in the world is a bunch of children. We in government are the grown-ups. We will decide what's best for people to know. You know, like, and like if you portray it like that, now it's just hammy and stupid. Like I wanted to make the legit, and an argument, by the way, that absolutely exists out there. Like the positions that Old Man in Black has in 75 are positions I've heard government people, police officers, whatever, present. Like, you know, that it's like, we know what's best. We know what's best for them. And you know what? I'm going to give them a little bit. Some cases they're probably right. But like in a lot of cases, that's a very weird slippery slope. And I wanted to lay it out very honestly. And I wanted to present it in kind of a seductive way where someone would be like, I see what he's saying. And I find it hard to refute. Like that's what I wanted, you know, where it's like I in my bones I think he's wrong, but I don't know how to articulate why. And that's what I wanted to put out there, you know. And we'll, you know.
I tell you what I dug about 75. 97 was my favorite book. And I know you probably don't want to talk about your books for your whole show, but I got to say this. 97 set up the world. Like we accepted what the men in black were like. And that's kind of what I appreciated about that story's progression to the end. But 1975, it didn't matter about any of the characters. It didn't matter about one character because all it was a camera was on a thing that happened. Like 97 is Jenny telling you what happened. But this was our first encounter with like, don't think that if somebody tells you about the boogeyman in Arizona that they're not telling the truth because we saw it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I remember like the little things because once you looked at it like we were approaching a live crime scene. Like that's what the story led up to. Like this is how the crime scene was created. Every part of it like built up to that, to where it didn't really matter about the characters. And so I appreciated that. Like I appreciated like when I saw the hole in the side of the trailer, I kid you not, I read the book twice before I saw the UFO in the backyard. Because
that's because you trained on that. And I love that because it's funny. I love that you noticed that. I don't know how many other readers did, but you're the first and only one who mentioned, like, I saw that hole and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It was a thing that I just put in mostly for consistency, because actually I had to circle back. I drew the room where the victim is, and there's this hole in the wall, and I realized, like, well, I guess you would see that from the outside. So now I have to go back and like I added this hole on the outside to make it like consistent. And I thought nobody's going to notice that. No, like they're going to later, like once they read through, they'll do the same thing I did. They'll see the living room with the hole in the wall on the inside. And now they might flip back to see like, you know, and then they'll see it there. I like that you noticed it right off the bat, which I think helps. Like it helps you realize like, oh, like something's inside
together. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like something.
Because we all see UFOs.
Yeah.
But like we don't always see a UFO with wreckage underneath it. Like if it's anything, it's a crop circle. But if there's wreckage that doesn't make sense,
yeah,
and there's a UFO in the backyard, okay, now like this is a situation.
And that was definitely just like you said, I did not intend to talk about Deeper Stem on the screen, but it was something where I definitely informed it with my day job, with my familiarity looking at thousands of crime scene photos. Like the little details, the little ominous details, like the screen door is open, like, which is weird. You wouldn't usually just see it. And like the truck that's pulled up in front of the house, like the door is open on the truck, you know, like there's these little things where you can tell like something's not right, you know, and that was just informed by, again, looking at probably at this point in my career, tens of thousands of crime scene photos. The way scene techs photograph them is usually like approaching, you know, like they're like closer and closer, closer, and then they're in the room and they usually clock it like tick, tick, tick. But like you usually get these initial 20 photos of them like approaching. And there's always something where you're like, oh, something looks weird. Something like so you can tell like something's off. Something's off. And I wanted to capture that little vibe of like, something's off. Something's wrong in this house. But, yes, that's true. No, they aren't. Let's see here. Let people quote. Yes. Yeah. Steve has an interesting take on the word class archetype, lots of good traits, but taking No, and like in that movie, 300, and by the way, I'm not complaining about it. I mean, it's not an accurate depiction of this is like it's a documentary, but it's like I think he was very honest in not comic booking the Spartans. Like he put those things in about like, you know, babies and the weird priest class and like all the decadence of that culture and the weird hostility and violence of that culture that, you know, like there's a lot that it's like weird proto-Klingons, but it also, based on what you're saying, like, yeah, no, very much it was like, this is how you're proto-Nazis.
I think
like,
it's
really
100. It's cool story, bro. I think that's exactly what it is. Hey, cool story. Like,
yeah,
I don't want this every month.
Right.
I don't want this to be my new watchtower, but cool. Right. This is a cool.
I watched it.
I own the 300 in print and the movie. Like I own both.
Yeah. Oh, same. And I enjoyed it, I think, on about the same level as I enjoy Rambo First Blood Part 2. You know, where this is really stupid. And this is like got some real weird messaging in it. Yep. But it's so fun. Like it's so fun to watch. And like, yeah, it's kind of the same to me. They're down statues and racist. You know.
Yes, it's like Back to the Future. It's like it's like everything changes.
Yes, it's true. Like everything can go too far.
Yep.
And I think I forgot why I was driving the other day, daydreaming. Corey will appreciate this. It was the idle mind, like generating ideas. And I forgot what triggered it, but it was something about how not every imposition on you is an injustice.
Right.
There is some level of expectation and demands and needs from you that actually make you a balanced, healthy human being. And that if you're free of that, I think that's what you see on message boards of the internet. People who can just think things into words and just like there's no repercussion, there's no reaction. And like I think a lot of ways the internet and message boards and comment sections and all that, it's as close as we need to get to being able to read each other's thoughts. And it is that bad. And I think what makes us civilized is having to look each other in the eye and function. And the internet removes that. And that's why I was saying not every imposition on you is bad. I kind of think the human animal, this was my driving musing, is a little bit like these deep ocean creatures that they bring up and they fall apart because the pressure can't hold them together
They're just not
anymore.
supposed to be here.
I think that's the same way with us. I think there is a minimum amount of societal and community and familial pressure that makes you even worth knowing. that if you didn't have that, you'd be this weird little tyrant sociopath who just says whatever you want and does whatever you want and is just pure id, just rampaging and stomping all over. Like, and it would make you kind of insufferable. Now, that's not to say there aren't unfair impositions on you. Not to say there aren't actual injustices that can be put on someone. It doesn't mean that everyone needs to be wound up tight and hiding themselves and being like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, though, that what I started with, not every imposition on you is an injustice or an injury. Like sometimes it actually is helping you. The other analogy I had, I'm a big video gamer. If you've played an old video game that's really difficult, you really enjoy, but it's really difficult, you've never seen the end of it, whatever, or you have, but it was really, really hard. As a kid, you had to play it for 2 months or something. Then you find a weird cheat code, a weird invincibility code or something. You put it in, and suddenly the game is so boring and so meaningless. And like it's not. You realize that there was something about the resistance that made it the experience. Like I think that's also something like being a human being. Like you need a little bit of pushback. You need to be told no sometimes. You need to express your view and have someone say like, no, I disagree. Or like, no, you're wrong. Or something like that, just to try and like make it you a recognizable, legitimate human being.
Right.
That's my hot take. I swear I'm not a stoner. But anyway.
I think we can all disagree, like, but don't kill me for disagreeing. Don't want to kill me for disagreeing. Like,
right. Okay. I need to go back to doing some screen caps of this video.
Well, I've been on for an hour and a half, man. I feel like I'm taking up all y'all's time.
No, I like having you here. So whenever you need to bail is cool, but like you're free to stay as long as you want. I usually will not go longer than 2 hours. So we're looking at maybe 20 more minutes or something.
I can hang out for 20 more minutes. That's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I can hang out. Oh my goodness. I'm very excited about doing these little comics. Like,
I'm excited to see.
There's so much more space. Like there's so much more space. And I feel like I can, like I said, I think I can pretty much pull it off as a full DIY if I can get my printer to communicate properly all the time. Because sometimes it'll give me the option to print two-sided and sometimes it won't for some reason. So I gotta see what's going on with that. But if I can do that, like, look out, world. I got my long arm stapler and everything ready to go.
Right.
So
I can't wait. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to get one. But
yeah, these will be fun.
I'm approaching, I think, the halfway point in drawing 79, which feels pretty good. I'm feeling good. I'm definitely at the stage. I remember this with both of them, 75 and 97. Yeah. Feeling like I have no idea how people will react to this. And maybe maybe it won't work for. I don't know, but I'm happy.
I can't. I think that if you're happy with it, I think that we're all gonna think as awesome as we did the first two.
At least in terms of what I'm trying to do and trying to work toward with D versus M. I think it, like 97, at least from my creative, vision, raises the bar again. Like, I think it's now like we're getting, and I think it's a great closeout to what I'm going to be nicknaming sort of part 1 of D versus M, because it's going to be the first 3.
Yep.
I think it's a good, like, okay, now you've got a really good foundation, and now we can go really crazy places in the last 3. Yep. So, like, okay. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I got something here. But.
I'm excited. So, you still think you're on track for early 2023, late 2022?
Yes. Yeah? Early 2023. Yeah.
Nice.
For sure.
That sounds good, man.
I'm going to start a live stream called Actually Working Gary that streams while this show is on, so I can listen to it.
Wow.
I can't even be mad at this. Like, it's so funny. I really like it. And I really like the idea of counter trolling me for always working Squatch. Actually working Gary. I can't even be mad about that. That's pretty good. Squatch, I don't have my binder in with me. It's in the other room. Like, there's a pile of D vs. M 1979 pages. Like, it's really kind of, like I said, approaching the halfway point. There's a lot here. There's a lot.
I'm excited.
It's going to happen soon. Before you know it, this year's flying by. Before you know it. There'll probably be, I'm kind of thinking there might even be like a teaser trailer or something around the holidays.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Just to kind of let people know. And then maybe at that point, I might be able to commit to an actual, if not a launch day, like a window. Like something somewhere in here, it's going to be. But.
I can't wait. Like, I remember reading 75 and being happy that, like, okay, like somebody figured out how to tell that UFO story that I used to read in those books as a kid. So I can't wait to see what this one does.
Yeah. I think it'll live up. I'm hoping, like, it'll be, but also, like, I think this is part of where it's like, I don't know. When I was doing 97, especially once 97 got done, but it wasn't out yet, I recognized, like, this, again, it's an anthology series.
Yep.
And 97 is very different from 75. You can tell it's all the same thing. Like, it's the same, I feel like it has the same tone and the same vibe, and, like you can tell, and it all is consistent with the, other parts.
Yep.
But it's very different kinds of stories. And for sure, 79 is like that too, where it's not like 75. Like, the main character in 79 is nothing like the main characters in the other ones. The basic story is nothing like the other ones. Nope. So it's, and so we'll see. But it'll also, kind of like with 97, it'll be fun to see once the 3rd is out.
Okay.
Which one people... Like, how the fans are ranking them. Like, which is the one, like, this one's my favorite, or this one, whatever. Like, it'll be interesting to see where, like, because I fully expect, just like when 97 came out, 79 will come out, and some people will be like, this is my favorite one yet. And some people will be like, I still like 97. Or some people will be like, I still like 75. And it'll be just fun to kind of see, like, how that breaks. But.
In seeing the little bit of visuals that you've posted, I will say I'm more excited for the visuals in this one, but I'm curious to see how the story can get topped from 97.
I think, I'm pushing the visuals. It's not going to look. I do think this is a weird thing to say. And it's especially only halfway done. I do think it's the best looking D versus M yet.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's especially now when I look back on pages from 75 for different reasons, it's like, oh, I would have done that totally different now.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be the most refined example of the style of D versus M yet, I think. Not I think, I know. It definitely is already, I think. In terms of story, I think it's going to be interesting to see it. It almost is a little like 75 in the sense that it starts very character and very. That's where you're getting a lot of the character and emotion stuff is in the first half. Not the first half, the first third. And then it graduates to kind of like 75, shit going off the rails. And that's where I think like it'll be interesting to see that kind of approach again. It's a little different. Actually, 75, it goes almost to like 90 immediately. Like they're talking. They show up at the house and things fall apart real fast. Yeah. This one, it's a little more of a slow tumbling down the side of a canyon where like they're talking, there's some talk, there's some establishing things, you're understanding the characters, you're understanding the basic idea of what's going on. Then there's a middle part that's I wouldn't even know how to describe it yet. It's going to be like weird and interesting. And I think where, to me, the real heart of the story is. And then that last third, that's where shit just blows up. Like it just goes crazy. And so it'll be interesting to see like it's just a slightly different flow than the first two and how people think about that. Don't you think it's weird my name isn't on the title yet, but I've never been invited on? Weird, right? Yeah, it's kind of weird. Will there be a part in the script of this one where they'll say, you guys, there are dinosaurs fighting Mars bots? And then look at the camera and say, dinosaurs versus Mars bots. No spoilers, Josh. No spoilers.
Oh my gosh.
If video game fans out there will know that was the joke about Last of Us. Like they always, this wasn't an actual line in the game. At one point they're like, yeah, it's like, remember that part where they lean back, it's like, well, that really is The Last of Us. Yeah. Like that was, so yes, dinosaurs versus Mars bots. I'm gonna like, well, looks like the dinosaurs are fighting the Mars bots. Dinosaurs versus Mars bots, if you will. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna. Yeah, and that'll be actually the last page of the last one, part 6.
My research has confirmed it. This is dinosaurs versus Mars bots.
Right. That's my one script note. Yeah,
I love it.
Could happen. Could happen. I don't know if actually it'll be now off the top of my head. I don't think the word Marsbot will ever be said anywhere in the series. Like that's because that's part of the wink, is like you'll see Martian warbots, like I mean but no one's ever gonna say like, oh, it's a Mars bot.
Right.
Like, like that's no one's gonna say that.
It's like, would anybody call them zombies if they lived in a world where there were no zombie movies?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cute.
Walkers or whatever.
Yeah, it's really cute for what is actually happening.
Well, and that's always been, I don't know why, but that's always been sort of the wink with these, is like the title is very B-movie, but the story isn't. And that's kind of always what I've done with the pulp covers, is like, I'm going to do a cover for that title, like Dinosaurs versus Mars bots. So like, what would that cover look like? And like, and I think I already know what the pulp cover is going to be for this one, the 79. And it's really going to go in that direction of like, you'll see it's like a funhouse mirror version of a specific scene in the book, but a totally like B-movie interpretation of it that's nothing like what actually happens. It's very much like this kind of goofy, winky version of a very serious, different kind of moment in the book. So,
I can't wait. I love watching people build legacy.
I'm getting excited because I think now at about this not only halfway point through 79, but sort of halfway point through the whole series, it's easier to kind of see it all coming together. Like for me, like it's easier for me to kind of like, and while it's all been sort of world building, it's very focused, very character anthology focused. There's little threads here and there, but I think people are going to to see now with the next part how it all is getting tied together, and that's really exciting. You know,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Yes, yeah, I liked that.
Exactly, I did it.
Right.
I literally closed it out. It was like Chaz Palminteri dropping the coffee cup and using
yes.
Yep.
Josh, is the second part of 2 stories going to end with just like you inking pictures of you talking directly to the camera and saying like, well, those are my 2 stories? And then is that just like that? That's the ending. The end. The end in a very inky, scripty, like big, you know, very crosshatched, like, you know, just super detailed. But that's
the old Stephen J. Cannell typing at the end of Magnum PI and then throwing the paper out of his typewriter.
Right. Right.
That's too funny.
So back to Squatch.
Uh-oh.
Squatch, I'd be happy to have you on at some point. I think you need to pitch topics to me. I think we need some agreed upon topics before, because what I don't want is it to drift into, Gary, why are you talking to me right now and not working? We need some guardrails for our conversation. What are we going to be talking about? So you come up with some pitches, and then I'll put you on the schedule. How about that?
Have your people call my people.
Yeah. We'll talk. We'll rap. Don't spoil the genius ending. I'm sorry, Josh. I'm sorry I spoiled the ending of 2 stories. Thanks for reading my 2 stories. The end.
2 stories is very good. Really, really awesome book.
It is. Yes. In fact, I still have them here for people. I gotta return them to my shelves, but both of these are absolutely worth reading. Absolutely worth buying.
Good books.
Absolutely worth reading. And in fact, I find, just as from a reader perspective, it's very interesting to read them both. Because again, this is the one that's sort of fiction inspired by real life, and this is the real life, you know, sort of fictionalized. And it's kind of interesting to see the way I described it to Josh when I had him on was I felt like because I read this first, like most of us have. Yep. When I was reading this, I was enjoying it on its own terms, but I also felt like Superman, going back here, callback. I could, with my X-ray vision, sort of see the nonfiction bones in it. Like there were elements of the story where it's like, well, that's a version of something that happened to him. I know that because I read 2 stories, and it's sort of interesting to read the 2. They're very different books about very different things. Like they're not replaceable. It's not like read one, you don't need to read the other. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's interesting to see basically an autobio creator telling a story that's very informed by this story that you know, but then, you know, remixed into something fictional. So. Yes. See, you've got like a bunch of good endings to consider.
Yep.
You just like, this is how you pick one. How do you pick one where no matter what you say 2 stories?
You just keep telling 2 stories. You got to use up all these endings.
Yeah. Yeah. Just 2 endings.
Right.
There we go. Josh, I want $1 for every book you sell when you do 2 endings to 2 stories.
I love it. Man, we're idea people.
Yeah. Yeah, we got $1 million. I want Kid Josh walking parallel and Josh. There's 2 stories all along and then wink. Both them, Kid Josh and Adult Josh, turn to the camera and wink. I think that would be good.
Like Michael Jackson in Thriller?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I'm into it.
Maybe even a thumbs up. I don't know. Like something or a little, or like, I don't know. Something very muggy and awkward. and cringy, ideally. Please draw that as a red herring. So when will we all be able to order the first Chick Track?
I did one, but then I realized how little it was, so I think I'm just gonna add them too. So I'm working on a run of Chick Tracks. I got a couple of I got quite a few ideas for them once I really started talking about it, and so there should be some out. I'm hoping by the end of this week. I'm just trying to make sure I can deliver on the printing, and if I can't, I'm just gonna go to Staples and get them done, because assembling it at home is gonna be cake. So it's just a matter of getting it something physical. So
do you have?
I would say
like cutting
mid-March. A guillotine? No, I'm gonna get one this week.
Yeah,
but I'm definitely gonna get one. Yeah, but we'll see. But this should be fun. They're called special blue envelopes, because that's what I'm gonna deliver them in. And whenever there's something like super top secret that goes through the Kingdom Halls, the elders get it in a special blue envelope.
Oh, really?
So I'll start spreading their blue envelopes all around. So I'm excited about it.
I don't know how you would feel about this. To me, from the outside, it's all kind of. But last night I was watching a little of a documentary about Warren Jeffs. I don't know if you're familiar. Yeah.
Yep.
And there were little echoes of like stuff you've said about like the GWs, where it's like, yeah, and especially I didn't realize. Now, of course, Jeffs, that's like a weird variant of Mormonism, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
That like this preoccupation with the end of the world and what's going to happen to the people who are in good graces versus everybody else, and like just this, like it. I just didn't realize that I all I knew about him was what I got from the news, which is basically like what he had a bunch of like
young brides
wives or something.
Right.
And, yeah, like, and it was just gross and weird, and he was, you know,
Right.
these are just, excuse the expression, just white trash up in northern Arizona. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Like, yeah, you know, it was sort of interesting, but sort of not. But
Right.
this documentary was like, it was really getting into like his dad and the weird belief system there, and you know, and him predicting the end of the world and it not coming, and like, and it's like, oh wow, they were full on
is a cult.
Yeah, like I mean, an end of the world cult, not just like any old cult, but like full, like the end times are coming.
Yeah, at some point they all are. Like the ones that, how much sense does it really make?
It always comes back to like, and that's what's sort of, I don't know. I have to struggle with my compassion when I watch this, because you have these people who are in it saying like, you know, he was being overly friendly with his sister, and like,
Right.
but with this weird kind of shrug, like, you know, and like part of me, the part of myself that I don't like, you know, is sort of like, morons, like what are you doing? Like all the flags, but then there's the other part that's like, they grew up in this.
If
they
you
have
don't know,
no
you
idea.
can't know.
Like
If you don't know, you can't.
groomed from like day one to accept this moronicness. You know, like, so they don't know. They like, you can't treat them like somebody on the street who's like, I don't know, he said the end of the world was coming, so we just started praying. It's like me on the outside, very, you know, it's easy to say like, what is wrong with you? You know, but like you realize on the inside there was
it's not like that. Yeah,
it's not like that. And something I've been trying to think about a lot lately, I encountered this thought a few weeks ago on a podcast where it was saying, to help develop compassion and empathy and at least understanding, not excusing people's behavior, not making it okay, but at least understanding and getting over bitterness or, you know, blaming, or like that kind of the uglier, like judgy, like
where
stuff.
it begins to affect you negatively.
Yes, is to just kind of try and meditate on this idea that if you were that person, you would probably behave and act and speak in exactly the same way. Like if you were that, and like to really sink into that idea, if you had grown up like they had, if you had had the parents they had, if you had had the experiences on the playground and in the bedroom and in the boardroom and all these things that they had. If you grew up the way they did, if you were in that situation, you'd probably react exactly the same way. And it's not making it okay. It's not saying like, oh, well, I get it, so like it's fine. But it at least teaches you like you can't get in this like how I would react in that situation. Therefore, that's how you should have. Like it does, I think, help you kind of imagine a little bit of sympathy, a little bit of empathy, a little bit of like, okay, like I understand. And I think it helps you direct your ire to the person who does know what's going on.
Right.
In that case, Warren Jeffs. Like Warren Jeffs knows exactly what he's doing.
That's the problem. Is somebody on top knows how this
people
works.
Under him are sort of like, well, he's the new prophet, and this is their reality. Like they don't know they're being manipulated. They wouldn't even imagine they're being manipulated. But he knows what he's doing. And that's where it's like, that's where the negative reaction should be properly directed, as opposed to these people that you're looking at and saying like, what a bunch of suckers, like that's not really fair to them, I guess. But
that's my whole thing, particularly. I mean, I grew up a Jehovah's Witness. I know it's not true now. I know it's not true now. Mm-hmm. But for most of my life, like that's only been I'm 42 years old. That's only been like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. When I believed it, I believed all of it.
Right.
But once you have to question what you believe, like once you have to question how something is going to happen that you believe, you have to like, that has to have some service.
Yeah.
And, but you can't, why would you ever think, if this is all you've ever known, why would you ever think that it's not just a question? Like, it's fine to have a question, but you're wrong.
Right. Well, and it made me think of Ransom Notes, and it made me think of your experiences. Like when they're talking about like this Jeff's group, they were imagining what's going to happen at the end times is like the world's basically going to be bathed in fire, and there's going to be this part of the planet that lifts up above the firestorm, and that's where like the okay people will be.
Right.
And so thinking about your example of like, it seemed like the way you talk about it, one of the many turning points for you was thinking about what it means for the people who are not going to be in the in crowd, and compassion for them. You get how it works in the Jeffs thing where it's like, this is why they're out living in the hills and not associating with the outside world. Because if you have that, that's a little crack in the wall where compassion and empathy can get in. And you can say like, yeah, but Cindy too? Cindy's going to die in the firestorm?
Exactly.
Oh, I like Cindy. Like, Cindy's not a bad person. Cindy doesn't deserve to burn to death. But you can't meet Cindy. Like, the only people you know
Cindy.
Yes, and that's like, again, that's where the design is. Like, the evil in the design of, like, let's prevent people from questioning or having a problem with this message by shutting off any opportunity to question.
If you can't understand what's going on, then you can't change it.
Right.
You can't know that something needs to be changed.
Yeah.
There's a lot that needs to be changed in the world that Jehovah's Witnesses are not privy to. But there's even more about the Jehovah's Witnesses that needed to change.
Sure. Yeah.
And you can't worry about the other problems until you take care of literally the trap that you're in.
Yeah.
So these, I think that some of these short chick tracks that I'm doing, I'm just going to leave out, just like you would find a chick track, just stuck somewhere. And I think that makes the most sense, because this attacks that in particular, like that feeling of people not really understanding why it is stupid. So why would you believe it? It's not because I'm stupid, because people who know me know. And also there's people from all walks of life who truly believe what they say. But there's also people from a lot of walks of life that know what it is and use it to take advantage.
Right.
And so that's that's the competition. To speak honestly about it, like my voice has to reach their ears so that they can at least hear. Not that mine is true, but mine is honest fiction at least.
Yeah.
You know, my book you won't end the world if you read my book, but you might destroy your family if you read theirs.
Right.
Like, again, speaking from firsthand experience, because there are awful things that people say about Jehovah's Witnesses, but unfortunately, a lot of them are true.
Well, you know, and I'm gonna. I hope this doesn't make you uncomfortable, but I think what impresses me most about you as a creator is that it, to me, from the outside, it's very much coming from a place of compassion. You know, that there's an interest. You're not trying to. The only thing you're criticizing is the institution.
Right, exactly.
Like the sort of weird matrix they're living in. You're not going after the people. You know, you're not going out. You're not, and it's. I remember I went down a Buddhism rabbit hole in a past life. Not literally. That's a funny thing to say about Buddhism. No, just 20, 30 years ago or whatever. I was
right.
And I don't remember the name of the two different schools, but there were basically two different types of approaches to nirvana. The idea that once you achieved enlightenment, there were two types of basically teachers. Yeah. One type's not a teacher at all. One type goes up the ladder and over the wall and is in nirvana, has achieved enlightenment, and that's that. Another type goes up, sees it from at the top of the wall, looks back and tries to help other people up. Tries to show this is, and I feel like you're kind of embodying that with your approach to your work right now, where it's like, look, this is how I kind of saw this differently. Let me give a version of that to everybody else so they can sort of appreciate, how I got there. And and it's not, to me, and I said this, I think, when I wrote your review, it's not JW specific. I think it can apply to anyone who's sort of trapped in an ideology, and needs to kind of maybe take a step back and think about what does this really mean? If I take this as far as I can go, where do I end up? Stuff like that.
What do I represent? What does my victory in this stand for?
Yeah.
Does it make everything better? Or is it they should have listened. Now I get to turn their brains into pudding. Right. It's that's not a fair consequence. It's really not. You to your inner, maybe to your inner Xerxes, where if I can remake the world exactly how I saw fit, in which ways am I a tyrant? What are the ways that I'm what I really want? Wrong? Yeah, is shitty or awful. It's better for everybody. Yeah. Yeah,
what would I want to? And I think. Again, that's, to me, from reading your stuff, that seems like that was how you got a little bit of an eye-opening, I guess, with JW, is really following through what you're saying is, and taking that all the way and seeing I'm not down for that.
A lot of Gilead City, which is kind of the futuristic story, is. And it was totally not from A Handmaid's Tale. I just saw that. Gilead is a big JW. It's a big JW location.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But anyway, a lot of that book is, they win. I'm not going to tell you how they win because it wasn't God that helped them win.
Right.
But they win. They've achieved everlasting life for everybody until they see it's time for it to end. Okay, now let's look at what comes with that.
Yeah. Now what?
Because it's not what they told you it was, but somehow this is happening. Right. So what does that look like?
Don't question narrative, separate, everyone pick a side and hate each other. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I'm into it.
And granted, this could be generational, but I do kind of feel like for all the good that the internet has provided, and it has provided a lot of good, I can't, and this is the generational part, I can't help but feel like it might be a little bit of a net negative. I don't know, but I think it just allows people to depersonalize each other. And
I feel like we miss a lot because we're too consumed if somebody handles a small skirmish in their side, then and everybody handles that small thing, then it's better. But if we are consumed with everything that's happening, if this thing is always bigger than that other thing, what do we ever really do other than react to the next?
In a way, it is too big. Yeah, I think some of it is like, it's just what this is what I was just about to say. It puts people in silos. It does. It allows you to find a tribe, and then the competition is like, who's the tribiest of your tribe? Who's like the most extreme, ultimate example of that? And like so, and this is not an original take, and it's a very unnuanced take, but it's like, people on the left is like, how can I out left you? How can I be the most left? And people on the right, like, how can I be even more conservative? And now you have these like hyper distilled, sludgy brews of positions.
It's all wrong,
Yeah, like there's no way this is gonna work with, with I don't know. It's discouraging, but some of that is absolutely, to channel Corey a little bit here. If not by design, an inevitable product of the machine. It's like that's what you get if you have algorithms, if you have things showing people what they'll engage with, whether it's good for them or bad for them. If you are trying to curate people's feeds where they're only seeing this, like and there's lots of examples like that Facebook whistleblower, all this stuff where it's like young mothers. This was one of the examples, I think, young mothers going on to look about like how to be pregnant content, and immediately being shown like weird anti-vax stuff and like and like birth defect stuff, like all this like weird, either like just non-scientific horseshit or horror show stuff. Not because they need it, not because they need it, not because they want it, because they'll engage with it. And like that's where you start like ruining everything. This is why we can't have nice things. Exactly. Dehuman it for sure. But I also, it's funny, it's a weird balance where my original complaint of things like blogs was that every voice seems legitimate. This is another unpopular, maybe a kind of I'm not saying this as bad as it might sound, but like not every voice is legitimate. And the example I've used over and over again, if there was some guy on the street corner with a megaphone saying like, there are computer chips in your COVID vaccines, don't buy into it, Bill Gates is an evil genius, like all this kind of stuff, you would try to not to make eye contact. You'd walk by very fast. You'd think that guy's a loon. There's something about writing it on the internet and seeing it in perfectly kerned Times New Roman or something that makes it seem somehow credible. Like not even credible, but a legitimate position. That there's something like, maybe I should read that. Maybe I should understand how to argue against that. Maybe I need to understand this person's point of view. You don't. You don't. They're a wacko. They're just a total wacko, and they don't know what they're talking about, and you can move on.
But if somebody hands it to you, tells you to look up this website, that's how it works. Like, that's 100%. Alex Jones called it an information war, but he was wrong. Like, he wasn't supposed to say it. You know what I mean? Like, that's not for you to say, Chief. Like, this guy he is who he is, but it's totally an information war. Like, that's build the big numbers. Who can have the most numbers? Yeah, and I think this is the ultimate end to, no, well, we're probably not the ultimate end yet, but this is the natural evolution of the first time we were talking about vaccines and you had a split screen sort of debate. It's not really a debate, but like two talking heads on CNN or something. And on one side, you have some sort of immunologist. And on the other side, you have Jenny McCarthy, who's famous for taking her top off. Like, like this is where you end up, like with this kind of celebration of lack of expertise. I don't know. I think we're just all living in that world now.
let's see here. DD. Yeah, it's we're in bad shape. What can I say? The flat Earth stuff blows my mind too. It's
something, ain't it?
That documentary on Netflix, though. What is it called? Is it Beyond the Curve or something like that? Or it's about flat earthers.
I gotta check that out.
So good. It's so good. It's good on a couple different levels, but I think what I really appreciated about it was, and I think it's probably the same thing with the QAnon stuff. I think you recognize when you're watching it. First of all, there's a little bit of the like Warren Jeffs reaction where it's like, I don't understand how these people even are making this make sense. Like, like how are they not even asking just the most basic questions about this belief system? But even if setting all that aside, you look at it and you see, if nothing else, a bunch of people, kind of like us, like our indie comic crew, who have found a community. And that is the magic and power of it. I can't help but think, and maybe this is being a little too generous to them. I can't help but think that like the whole flat Earth thing is very almost secondary. It's all about like, and within this movement, there are like little superstars in the movement. People, when they have a weird conference somewhere, like, oh, like this guy's going to speak. Like this one flat earther is going to speak, and that'll be very exciting. Or this other one, they've got a YouTube channel, and they like once a week are giving their flat Earth info. Like you can tell it's more, and maybe this is the case for all of it. It's so much more about community and feeling like you're a part of something than like whether it is real, like whether there's anything to it. And that's why I think it's probably like the QAnon stuff, where like everyone's like a little investigator and they feel like they're doing something important and they know each other and they know each other on the message board or whatever. And that's
friends.
That's what they're in it for. Like they're in it for that, like they may not realize that, but that's what's keeping it going.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is another thing that I also am opposed to, this idea of like equal time. In some cases, some things is great. If you want to talk about how to fight poverty,
we can debate that.
A lot of different takes. If you want to talk about how to deal with COVID, we need a lot of different takes. Sure, but yeah, when it's like, did we fake the moon landing? We'll have Buzz Aldrin on. And then we'll have some lunatic who has a blog, and like let's argue about whether we actually landed on the moon. No, we don't need to do that. We really don't.
You guys can.
I'd rather not.
Yeah, don't take up everybody's time with that, please.
Yeah, I mean, Josh, this was my thing growing up. So I've told people, if they've watched the channel, they know this. I'm a product of Catholic education. For all the good and bad of it. And in my experience, like you would cross paths with people who had like weird ideas about, like, for example, evolution. And in my experience, it was just they really didn't actually understand the theory. That's all it was. Like when you really like, and it would be evidenced by like not to be mean to anybody, but like the dopey questions, like, if evolution's real, why are there still monkeys everywhere? Like, I mean, it's like, it just shows that like they don't understand it at all. They don't understand anything about it, or like, just even like the young Earth stuff where it's like, they got a fossil somewhere that has human footprints right next to dino tracks. And like, you can just tell, like, I just can't. They found Noah's Ark in Turkey. Everybody knows. Like, I apologize for doing that voice, like that dialect. That's kind of, Noah's Ark is real. I'm sorry. I apologize. But it just is an element of like, I can tell you just don't read a lot about this. And that's the frustration. It's not like I've read all the shit. I'm up on it. I have a master's in evolutionary biology, and I'm telling you right now, I don't buy it. That's an interesting. I would like to hear from that person. That'd be interesting. I'm sure it doesn't make any sense at all, but I'd be curious. But usually, that's not who you're dealing with. You're dealing with someone who, like, their picture of prehistory is the Flintstones, and
Right.
it's just I'm not gonna.
But the problem is, and like what I try to combat is, you don't deserve to die for believing that. But I also don't deserve to die for not.
Right. Like,
yes. I would rather learn. I'd rather learn than know the wrong thing.
Of course. And I don't think that's a big, like, I minored in comparative religion. Like, I'm very open-minded about people. I really don't. And there was a quote I had on my MySpace page for a while. I think it was like J. Gordon Middleton or something. It was this religious scholar who he was a comparative religion professor.
Mm-hmm.
Someone had asked him some kind of question about kooky beliefs and cults and stuff like that. And his answer was something to the effect of, you're asking me about kooky beliefs when I'm someone who believes that a day laborer 2,000 years ago in the Roman Empire is somehow tied to the mysteries of the universe. There is an element of like, no, look, I mean, as soon as you get into mystical explanations of the world, it's kind of hard to say like, well, that's dumb, but this one makes sense. Like,
Right.
like you kind of, that's not the train you should be operating in is like, what's rational,
Right, exactly.
I don't know. It's sort of a little weird. That said, I have to admit, I get a little triggered when someone starts talking about Noah's Ark or the world's 6,000 years old or, whatever. I just can't. I'm definitely of the school, personally, of scientific truth cannot be in conflict with any kind of theological or spiritual explanation you have of the world.
Absolutely.
Like that ultimately, like, they're going to have to match. And the moment you start saying like the science thing is wrong because my holy book says, I feel like something's it's something.
Right.
It's not. I can't go along.
Yep. Yep. It's pretty scary. Pretty scary to have whole rules made on that when it just doesn't work.
Jim listening in. Christian Al. Okay. Yeah, that's, and there's lots of versions of that, But, which is where I think most, I don't know. I would say that's probably at least where most American Christians end up. No, I can't speak, I wouldn't call myself a Christian, so I can't say that, but with authority. But I think most, at least in America, there's this, while we definitely have a lot of liberalists, I feel like here, maybe more than any other place, is this idea that somehow these have to mesh, that they have to square, that it's not, that once you go down like the kind of weird, like, who was the guy who had he has like the Ark Museum in the South
in Kentucky.
Yeah.
What is that guy's name?
I don't know. Once you get into this whole like the scientific community, it's a great big conspiracy, and they're hiding evidence of whatever from you. It's like, okay, I can't deal with this. Like, this is, I just can't listen. I'm sorry. He's got like a scale model of like the Roman Colosseum with like gladiators fighting dinosaurs in it. It's just, it's almost like what we were talking about before. Like, could the Hulk lift a mountain if he was mad at him? It's that kind of stuff where it's like, I think you're trying too hard.
Cool. It's cool that you do what you do, but like,
but I can't.
It's not for me. And
I've reached my limit of being able to sit and smile and say, like, tell me about what you believe, and be like, that's fascinating. That's beautiful. That's really interesting. I'm going to be thinking about that later. That's an interesting way to look at that. Like that, you're out of that realm now. You're out of that kind of feeling. I'm just sitting and listening, like, you know, like okay, and then
I'm edging away slowly.
Yeah,
like,
it's like, you know what? I just remembered I have to be anywhere else.
Thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
It's really good talking to you.
Yeah, we'll catch up. He said he's down with anyone that isn't too far on either side of the spectrum, not feeling extremism. Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, truth shouldn't negate truth. And I think, if you measure something and it's 2.5 feet long, and someone comes out of the crowd and says, no, and they're waving an old book, and they're saying, it's actually 7 inches.
Right.
All right. I'm not going to, I can't.
I'm going to ask you to leave.
Yeah, I'm not going to humor you. I'm not going to,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. No, I'm actively writing my pirate story while I'm doing these chick tracks.
Yeah.
I'm going all in on that one. I think that once I get it massaged a little bit more, I might actually put feelers around to see if somebody wants to do the art on it.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's just a story I would like to just set it up. I would love to see what somebody else
see somebody else do the same. That's pretty cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, that'll be my first cold foray into it. So I'm pretty pumped about that. Unicornism. Now, is that one corn? Do I have to pick between yellow dinner corn and popcorn?
The single.
Yeah.
It's the
Where does
monocorn.
crepe corn fall into this? Exactly.
It's the monocornistic approach to.
Yes.
But unlike the mysteries of the universe being tied into a day laborer in Judea, all the mysteries of the universe are tied into blue corn. It's blue corn specifically.
Yes.
Don't bring that white corn over.
A blue corn cob was the actual Holy Grail. That was actually it.
There we go.
Jim always has the best ideas. He did Wilf on me and Ronnie's show. Now we got the Holy Unicorn. I love it.
Was it? Yeah, what? Yeah, it was. Yeah, Wilf. It was a werewolf.
Yeah, it was Wolf Milf. Yeah, Wolf Milf, and then it was Wilf. I love it.
That's right. Wolf Milf was the one that I think I liked better. Wolf Milf is that is a B movie that I want to watch.
Totally is.
I would watch the hell out of that. That's when I would buy sight unseen. If I just saw it on Amazon, it's based on your previous purchases. Maybe
you'll love Wolf.
You bet I'm interested in Wolf Milf. I hope
stream it and send it to me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Writing my review while I watch it the first time.
Yeah, I'm gonna live stream. I'm gonna live tweet. I'm gonna start with my first Twitter just to live tweet my reaction to Wolf Milf.
I love it.
Predictions, why they're important. Repent of not predictive power and join Unicorn. Yeah. Because John Unicorn is the future. Please no evangelizing in my chat, Josh. Yes. I know you're unicornism has changed your life. I'm happy for you.
Right.
It's a bunch of fairy tale bullshit. Stop it. I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Yeah. Don't be putting your corn cob down my throat and expecting me to believe it.
Don't be spreading your weird unicorn cult in my chat. That's not what this is about. It's about being angry about Star Wars when you're too old to be angry about Star Wars. That's what it's about.
You gotta stay on top of it.
Yeah, that's right. Talking about Superman, a guy in a cape who flies very seriously.
Yes. How does he do it with no guilt? He doesn't.
That's right. What motivates Superman?
Like Larry King. She gets some suspenders. Just put your suspenders on over whatever shirt you're wearing.
That's right. Jim made a documentary. Yeah.
I thought all the same things that
I
you
feel
did
like
about unicornism.
Unicorn. How's he? He's like what is he saying? Unicornianism. Unicornianism. I almost could picture that in a Jim Lujan production. Or there's a weird background,
yeah.
like a little church about like the first house of the Holy Unicorn or something weird. That it's all about that.
That would be cool.
Can't wait to see. I can't believe how. I mean, it's just the teases I've seen on his Patreon, but how he's just hurled himself into the next movie already. I feel like it's just I can't even wrap my brain around it. I'm curious. Has he said when he thinks the new one's going to come out? Has he had
I haven't heard.
I mean, he's already got what looks like finished drawings and stuff. He's recording audio. He's doing all the stuff.
Wow. John Heron Unicorn.
It's a Jim Lujan character. Our cartoon. Yeah. All right. Well, I probably should focus. I think I'm stalling because this is going to be a difficult drawing day for me. And I'm enjoying our conversation, so it's making it easy to stall. But I probably should get to it. It's been 2.5 hours.
Yep.
Thank you so much for dropping in.
Thanks for having me, man. I've been wanting to get on for a while. This is a good chat.
I'm glad it worked out, and I'm glad it worked out maybe because it was a little later today. But do you have anything you want to pitch? Anything you want to promote?
Stay tuned to my Instagram. I'm gonna post a couple of I got a few pages of a chick track that kind of set up the story pretty well. I want to get out and get people interested in it, and then it'll start to kind of ramp up into the actual story. But I want to get one out and going, and I should have a good piece of one out tonight.
Cool.
So
cool.
Instagram, Fogbreaker Studios, and that's usually where I am. That's where I am the most. So yeah, just find me on Instagram right now. Maybe TikTok again in a little bit.
Cool. And then where are you in your movie homework? What is the next movie that you need to watch?
Okay, I am neck and neck trying to decide if I'm going to watch Silence of the Lambs. I still didn't watch it the day I said I was going to.
Yeah.
And now Halloween 78 has me very interested. I feel guilty for starting movie homework knowing how long I've needed to watch Silence of the Lambs. Yeah. But it'll be one of those two movies next for sure.
That's a tough call. I mean, because they're so different. It's sort of it's kind of hard to.
It's Hot Tub Sunday morning, so if I don't watch one tonight, I can watch one tomorrow. So maybe I'll knock them both out this weekend.
I feel like Halloween is more of a hot tub movie.
Okay.
I think. I don't know if anyone else has a vote in the chat, but I feel like if you're gonna watch one in a hot tub and one at night.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Silence of the Lambs is kind of a good
nighttime
movie. I think. I don't know. Does anyone else want to vote in? What should you watch tonight?
Josh said Silence of the Lambs. Okay.
Yeah. Silence of the Lambs, it's just a great film. There's no other way to say it. It's so it's whenever you choose to watch it, it'll be fun. But you're not going to regret it. Halloween 78, I don't remember the last time I saw that. I'd be curious how it holds up because it's John Carpenter,
right. I mean, I have faith in the visuals because it's John Carpenter. His stuff just works.
Let's say here. Don't watch Silence of the Lambs. That's kind of my leaning.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd feel weird.
All right.
It's one of the best movies ever.
Okay. All right.
When I get pinned down, I just had this at work the other day. Someone asked me what my favorite movie was. And my first reaction was Empire Strikes Back.
Yep.
But then if I'm setting aside geek enthusiast stuff, probably Silence of the Lambs. It's got to be up there. It's certainly a strong contender for best. My favorite, my personal favorite. Okay. Thanks again for coming by. It was great to talk to you. I feel like it's been a while since we've really.
Yeah, it's been too long. I'm glad we got to chat, man. So
absolutely.
Hopefully not this long in between the next time and the time after. But yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then thanks for everyone who showed up in the chat. Josh, Jim, Dee Dee. Who else was here? Corey was here for a little while. Squatch, of course, the man of the hour. Christopher, Paul. We had a good turnout today. So Frank was there at the beginning.
Yeah, Frank came in for a bit.
That reminds me, I forgot to go shadow ban Frank.
Exactly. Write that down.
Forgot. That reminds me. Shadow, and then before I get back to work, shadow ban Frank. All right. Thanks, everybody. I will see you next week. Should be back at the regular time, 11 a.m. I will be starting page 25. I will be out of this sort of nightmare, but important, but exciting page of page 24. And it's happening. It's happening. It's going to be done.
Love it. Can't wait. All right. Y'all be good. Thanks again, Gary. Always good chatting with you.
Yes. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Take care.